Moments ago, inside that building in courtroom 15, Justice Jeremy Johnson ruled that Tommy Robinson can go free. He's been in prison for 7 months in solitary confinement in a maximum security facility full of murderers and terrorists called His Majesty's Prison Wood Hill. Not just that, but to keep him in solitary confinement, the prison has released 24 other...
Tommy Robinson leads football hooligans in London. Look at that crowd. Women, old people, disabled people, Sikhs, Asians, blacks, normal people, ex-servicemen. That the media are the enemy. That's why I use it. That's why citizen journalism, new start-ups aren't controlled by the corporations who control the narrative are important. So.
President Donald Trump sent US officials to the UK on a fact-finding mission after becoming so concerned with the erosion of free speech in Britain. A team from the US State Department spent days in the country and interviewed pro-life campaigners to feed back to the White House. The 5-person team met with 5 activists who had been arrested in the UK for silently protesting outside abortion clinics across Britain.
Why they contest them, and why the farmer himself contests them, to show that they've infected. The farmer would gladly, voluntarily cull the birds if they were infected. You don't want to spread infection to anybody or any other animal.
Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle. It's Sunday, which means we're going to bring you this week's top world news stories. If you guys missed last week, we were having a yard sale. And our yard sale got interrupted, or I guess wonderfully interrupted, by a guy named Vladimir from Russia. So the first hour of our program last week was an interview that Leah did with him, which was super fun. But this week, we're getting right back to all of the top news stories. I have no idea when Leah is going to join our program. She's not even home right now. So I decided we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to tell you guys some of the top stories that we have, which I'm really, really excited about right here in the upper right-hand corner. Tommy Robinson is going to be set free. You know, here's the deal. I have it's not really a love-hate relationship with Tommy Robinson. It is a love-love relationship. However, we have been covering Tommy Robinson since the inception of Resistance Chicks. The very first year in 2017, Tommy was already on the scene. He was already fighting for the truth about what's been going on with what we, at that time, we had to call it the religion that shall not be named, Islam, in the UK, because if you mentioned Muslims, if you mentioned Islam, if you mentioned Sharia law, if you even said like burqa, they would ban you off of YouTube. It was ridiculous. That was the number one thing that we couldn't say for years was Islam. And now we can say it, and it almost feels like, oh, I don't know if I can say it or not, because I'm afraid I'm going to get kicked off the internet for just saying Islam. I want to say it like really fast, like Islam, Islam, Islam. Like to tell you, like when I was growing up, there was a 4-letter word that began with an F that we were not allowed to say. It's not the F word that you're thinking. It is followed by an A, an R, and a T. And my mom hates that word. Like to this day, she hates the word. She cannot stand it. And when I was a kid, I would just, because listen, if y'all don't know this, I don't know what show you've been watching, but there is a very deeply ornery streak inside of me. And if you tell me not to do a thing, that's the only thing I want to do. So when my mom said, don't say that word, I don't like that word, then of course I would be in the car laughing in fits, going fart, 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 fart. And like almost to the point of tears. And it made my mom so mad, so mad. So you tell me I can't say Islam, and all I want to do is say Islam, Muslim, Mohammed, you know? So now you can say it as much as you want. No one cares. YouTube is not going to give me a strike. knock on, we don't believe in knock on wood. Lord protect us. YouTube is not going to give me a strike for saying that. Now, you can't say, the word that begins with an V and starts and ends with an vaccine. So whatever. There's a lot of things that they tell you. Speaking of free speech, though, we're going to get to that in a second. I believe that Tommy Robinson has been jailed strictly for free speech. That's it. They have a whole boatload of trumped up charges on him, but it really is because of free speech. But the reason why I say I have a love-hate relationship with Tommy Robinson is because even though Tommy's been doing this before any of us got on the scene, and Lee and I have been in it for a while, he, for the longest time, was doing it without the power of God. He was an atheist, and Satan can't cast out Satan. And when you're dealing with Islam and you're dealing with this religion that is full of hate, they call it the religion of peace. That's tongue in cheek. You're dealing with the demonic, and you can only fight it with the power of God. Now, recently, and I think maybe it's been some of his time in prison, Tommy has come to, I don't know if he's fully a Christian yet, but he's really, really close, which is very, very exciting. And I just keep praying for him. And I would love to have him on our program one day, Lord willing, and just, show the love of God to him. Because I think that once he grabs a hold of the power of God, there will be no stopping him in this fight. And I do think that he's called in this fight, but Tommy's lost his marriage, and and things have been really, really hard for him. And I don't think it needed to be, because like I said, if you take on demons, they will ravage you if you don't do it properly and you don't do it in the power of God. So I was actually just reading today about the 7 sons of Shiva, something like that, in the book of Acts. How they were like, hey, they saw, Peter and Paul and all these disciples casting out demons. And so they would say, in the name of Jesus, who Paul preaches. And the demon literally said to them, Peter or Paul, Jesus I know, and Paul I know, but who are you? And then ravaged, beat, stripped naked these 7 sons, and then they ran off. So essentially, we did that. Got a little alarm going off. Essentially, that's what's going to happen to you if you take on the devil. And I pray for Tommy, and I would love for his life to be able to be restored. But in the meantime, at least he's going to be set free from prison, supposedly. So that's very, very good news. And we'll get into all of that. Also, while we're still in the UK, Trump, back in March, which we're just now hearing about it, sent a free speech envoy to the UK, a 5-man team, to investigate the jailings and the persecution and prosecution of thought crime of pro-lifers and people that are, standing outside of abortion clinics and just praying. And so we're going to talk about, that and what has happened, as a result of that, which, like I said, it happened back in March, but we're just now hearing about it now. So that's good news. I'm not going to knock that one. I'm definitely going to give that one a big round of applause. You're not going to see me poo-pooing Trump or the administration over that one at all. Then we are going to give you an ostrich update. Now, I think it was just last week, I'm pretty sure, where they are wanting to cull, that's the farm word, the farm scientific word for kill, C-U-L-L, cull this, I think it's like got 400 ostriches, this farm that quote unquote has tested positive for bird flu, but none of the ostriches are showing symptoms. So RFK Jr. has written a letter asking them to cease and desist while further investigation is happening. So I'm excited to hear more about that. Now, in what happened to your cell phone, Leah?
It's put in.
So Leah is here. She's 2 feet away here. And she sets her cell phone down, and it looks like it's been hanging out of the pig pen. It looks like, is that where your fanny pack's been hanging out?
It's all kind of. I take my phone with me and a fanny pack when I go do stuff outside. And
speaking of outside, yesterday
and stuff.
It's disgusting. Yesterday, Patriot Gallery's been working really hard on a new.
It's not that bad.
It was pretty bad. A new garden bed, which is expanding a compost pile, right? And so we did a little video. If you guys missed that, it's on Facebook. I haven't had time to upload it to other platforms yet, but I will hopefully later tonight. But we showed you guys the video and we showed you the pigs. Please pray for our pigs' fertility. Like, they're supposed to be pregnant. And we keep patting their bellies, asking if there's babies in there. I don't know if there's babies in there or not, but there should be. And we just keep waiting. And I'm like, where are the little piglets? So pray for the fertility of because the boar, Malachi died. We had another boar, Malachi. Ray, he hasn't gone into rut. And he usually would if they were going into heat. So I can't imagine everybody just broken all at the same time.
Right, exactly.
Right? So something's got to be going on. Hopefully there's babies in there. So pray that our little piglets have piglets.
Hopefully in June.
Other God's Little Acre update. You guys heard us complaining about our roots. I'm not talking about the garden.
Oh, I was gonna tell you the brunette, the recession brunette is over. The economy is back on track.
If you couldn't tell, the screen's a little brighter today. Whoa,
$5 boxes. And it was all. Here's the thing. I was trying to pinch pennies. Yeah, we had to use both boxes. So
it took both boxes to get these roots.
Your donations go to a good cause. Because we don't pay a salon. We are the salon.
I would like to. I got a little twitch in my eye on this one. So I would like for y'all to know something.
Know something?
Okay. You watch these shows, all of them. They be getting the Botox, all right? We don't do no Botox around here.
I know.
They be getting all their salon. You know how much it costs to get your hair did?
So, yeah, I do actually because
we cut our own hair.
We have had we've met Emerald Robertson and Jenna Ellis and
they're both
all these
very beautiful
ladies. And one of the Emerald Robinson's former assistants who has her own podcast now, her name is Brianna.
Yeah, she's great.
She was complaining about the no tax on tips.
Yeah.
Because she's like, how come she goes, when I go to get my blowout is not a haircut. It's when they literally just blow dry your hair. She goes, I am not tipping on that $150 job. $150 to get somebody to blow dry your hair. Yeah. So your donations are used wisely here. I don't.
$5 clearance box.
I don't even use a blow dryer, so.
Yes, you do sometimes.
Maybe once a month, if that.
Oh, you see, y'all can't get this.
But that maybe some of you would say, could you put in some more effort?
Every once in a while, I think to myself, no, actually, it's almost every show. I think to myself, this is the greatest podcast on the internet. Okay?
How many times do you...
I'm going to say it every show if I need to say it, because I don't think it's sinking in. Nobody gives you this kind of breaking news.
I know.
Okay? Sure. You don't get to hear about Tommy Robinson and blowouts and $5 boxes of hair dye getting rid of roots on the same show anywhere.
Some people would probably say, just get on with the news.
No, they wouldn't. You know why? Because they come for the personality.
You think so?
Yes, they do.
I think so too. I do.
I know y'all do. Now, I notice there's not too many people here right now.
Okay.
But I have an explanation for that.
Why is that?
Well, here in the United States, it's a 3-day weekend. Okay. So I'm going to assume most of y'all are doing some sort of vacay thing.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Weather's nice here in Ohio.
Oh, it is really nice.
Southern Ohio right now. It's absolutely gorgeous. Hate being in the studio. Love being here with you. So, you know, I'm just saying. Everybody, y'all have, what's that? A slip when you get an excuse from class? Slip for today because it's Memorial Day. So I do want to take time to thank all of our servicemen and women, current and past, and honor them. We really appreciate people that are willing to lay down their lives for our country and to serve our country. Yeah. And we would not have America if it were not for the brave women and men out there that have literally said, you know what, I'm going to set my life aside and I'm going to serve my country. So thank you guys so much for your service. And we appreciate you very, very much this Memorial Day weekend.
We do. No, that's really good. So what else happened this week news-wise? We did a whole show Wednesday.
Trump shocks the world. So Trump meets with the South African president, Ramaphosa. And it was uncomfortable. to say the least.
To say the least.
To watch Trump brought out, and this is actually world news, but we had to do it in the middle of the week instead of doing Revelation Red Pill because it had happened like that day. But it is world news. So yes, we do need to cover it in case you missed it. I would highly recommend watching that episode. I don't know how we turned one of those stories into like a 3-hour show, but somehow we did. Trump made it easy. He brought out the videos that we've been playing on this Sunday World News program for the past like 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot the bird. Brrr.
Pow.
Boom, pow.
Like, so there is a party. What are they called in South Africa?
The EFF.
And they believe
The Economic Freedom Fighters.
they're not for freedom for everyone.
Right.
They believe that all white South Africans should die.
Kind of.
Okay, pumpkin, and the farms should be confiscated.
Yeah.
Now, like Leah said, they are the child molesting uncle of the family that people like Ramaphosa's party and the other guy that was there, I don't remember, he was the conservative one.
Pretend like doesn't
They try to pretend that they don't exist. However, what I was really surprised by, I'll be honest, was Ramaphosa coming out and saying about because the law passed, I think it was in 2018, saying that the government could confiscate properties without compensation. Okay, so this has been it's been in law for 7 years. They say that they have not used it yet. I'm not convinced that they haven't, but they say they haven't used it yet. However, these farms have been being confiscated because people have been going in and murdering the farm owners, and then they take the farms. But Ramaphosa literally admitted that I'm putting this in air quotes, obviously not us, but them, we have a past that still has to be dealt with. And so what he's saying is that this land does need to be confiscated and essentially the white South Africans need to be quote unquote dealt with in whatever manner. And I just thought I was really surprised that he was that bold. And I think that he's a very good manipulator. We talked about that. I think that it's indicative of just how mainstream it is that he wasn't able in his mastermind of manipulation to recognize that he should not have said that. Do you understand what I'm getting at? Like it's so like, hey, you should have said that, brother. Because if he had known how we were all going to receive the way that he said that, I don't think he would have said it. Okay, that we have a past that needs to be dealt with, because he's not an ideologue in the sense that he's willing to lay all of his ideology out for the world to see, because he knows that, deep down inside, I believe that Ramaphosa has the same opinion as the EFF.
I think so too.
Okay, but he has to put on this front in order to remain in power and for the rest of the world to take him seriously. But deep down inside, he has those same convictions, and that's what blurted out like a fart. You missed my fart intro. Did you hear it?
I did.
You heard it? You're upstairs. You were listening. Fart.
Stop.
Mom's hiking at the nature center. She's not even here. She didn't hear me say it.
No, so good news is that Tommy is being released. So I want to
Tommy.
honor that with a couple videos that we have here up of Tommy. We'll bring
Do you have all your tabs up or enough? Do you want me to pull them up now?
I think I do, but I think I need to bring up my Ezra Levant one where Ezra. So
I've got that downloaded if you need me to.
So let me tell you what's so funny about the whole Palestinian Israeli thing.
We talked a lot about that on Friday.
So Tommy works for Rebel News.
Officially, yeah.
And he, like, if it wasn't for Rebel News, Tommy would still be in jail.
Yeah.
Ezra Levant is a Jew, though.
Exactly.
And he's very much in support of Israel.
Right.
And so Tommy is obliged to be in support of Israel. But what's funny about all of this is that October 7th, the rest of the world was in support of Israel and anti-radical Muslim anyways, because we have more in common with Israel and the Jews in general than with radical Islam. However, we're noticing like a shift because there are other Muslims that aren't radical Muslims, but they're very much against the LGBT nonsense. I think we're what I hope we're actually entering into is an age of judging people by their character, but that also takes getting to know somebody, and that can be dangerous when you're dealing with a religion that no other religion in the world has a wing that wants to blow people up and kill people. You know? So Buddhists don't do this. Hindus don't do this. Sikhs don't do this. And then no other religion in the world has millions and millions of people under regimes that are very radical and oppressive and violent.
Yes.
Okay. So in Saudi Arabia, they make a show of their executions, which is, cut your head off with a sword and your hand off.
They beat their wives. They kill homosexuals. Bless you. Bless you again.
And in Egypt, right? So this is a religion that is not helpful. But what's interesting is there are a lot of good Muslims.
Yes.
And it's a fine line to walk. Okay. It's a fine line to walk between you don't want to, show everybody, put everybody into one box. Exactly. So I want to bring up here, where am I? I'm trying to bring up Ezra Levant's things. You want to play that one?
We can play that.
Let's play that.
Well, I just have it downloaded. So
let's play Ezra here and let's go and see what the news is on Tommy. And here's the thing: is he under some sort of? I'm sure he's got to be under a gag order to not say what he said that got him in prison before. And I'm sure that you gave people the rundown. Did you give the people the rundown on the U.S. envoy going to the UK? So I don't know if maybe this has something to do with it.
Tommy's been asking Donald Trump to intervene on his behalf. So perhaps he did and we don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because he literally was jailed.
Yeah.
For speech, for, his movie that he had made, his documentary he had made about a stabbing that was done in a school, I think.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London, England. What a gorgeous, unseasonably warm spring day. Moments ago, inside that building in courtroom 15, Justice Jeremy Johnson ruled that Tommy Robinson can go free. He's been in prison for 7 months in solitary confinement in a maximum security facility full of murderers and terrorists called His Majesty's Prison Wood Hill. Not just that, but to keep him in solitary confinement, the prison has released 24 other violent prisoners so that Tommy can have a wing to himself, because the prison is so chaotic and so out of control that the prison governor doesn't control it. The prison gangs do. So they literally opened out 24 cells, let those prisoners go just to hold Tommy. Talk about a bizarre justice system. Tommy was set to serve several more months in prison, but he purged his contempt, is what they call it in the law, by taking down the video finally in the last few days. That's what the judge said who sentenced him some 7 months ago. Part of the sentence was punitive. That is, to punish Tommy for publishing the video, but part of it was to force or coerce Tommy to actually take the video down. So by doing that, Tommy shortens his sentence by several months. He'll be released later this week unless the prison has some last-minute spasm of authoritarianism, which can't be ruled out given their sadistic governor, Nicola Marfley. It was an interesting hearing. Tommy's lawyer made the case that Tommy did everything he could to take down copies of the video, deleting it from his own account, writing to allies who had posted it. What was interesting is there were several accounts, including in Denmark, that simply refused to take it down, saying that they would never comply with a judge's order to censor. And the judge heard that and saw that Tommy tried to get them to take it down and accepted that Tommy did everything he could. It's interesting to me that people around the world published that video, including in France, the court was told. Besides Tommy's lawyer making the case that Tommy had purged his contempt, there was a lawyer here for the Solicitor General, that is, for the government of Keir Starmer. Realize how censorious this government is. Every single day, according to the Times of London, 30 people in the UK are arrested every day for a social media hurt feelings crime. 30 per day. That is more than are arrested for the same thing in Russia. Now, I'm not saying that the UK is an authoritarian regime in some of the ways that Russia is, but my God, it's going in that direction, wouldn't you say? Tommy joined today's proceedings by a video link from the prison, and he'll soon be released. What's astonishing is that he was in prison at all. If I'm not mistaken, there has been no other journalist who has served time in prison for contempt of court in nearly 100 years, let alone spending 7 months in solitary confinement. I think, again, that goes to Tommy's status as an enemy of the state. I'm worried that Tommy simply cannot get a fair hearing in the United Kingdom. He's become a pariah, and there's such peer pressure, even amongst the judges, to put him in prison. Let me give you an example. Although Tommy will be getting out of jail in a number of days, he faces another charge under the Terrorism Act. Now, that sounds terrifying. It sounds like he's done something heinous, doesn't it? Well, no. In fact, all he did was, when he was picked up by police without warrant and held under the Terrorism Act, that's an astonishing law. It's like their version of the Patriot Act over here. They can arrest anyone coming or going from the country and hold them for up to 6 hours and question them, and you do not have the right to remain silent, if you can believe it. So they arrested Tommy on no charges, on no warrant, and they asked him questions about his politics and his journalism for 6 hours, and he answered them, as you must, but they asked him for the passcode on his phone. Now, of course, as you know, if you've got a smartphone, which most of us do, your phone doesn't just have phone numbers. It has your emails, it has your documents, it has your photos, it has voice and video recordings. It's got everything. And for the police to say, give us the passkey to your phone without a search warrant or any probable cause, simply offended Tommy's dignity as a Brit. The rule of law, the privacy that people in this country ought to have. So he declined. Now, I think the police cracked his password anyways, but nonetheless, they are charging him under the Terrorism Act for the offense of not giving him their passcode. Of course they are. They throw everything at this guy. It's like Lavrenti Beria, the Soviet secret policeman who said to Stalin, show me the man and I'll find you, or find me the man and I'll show you the crime. As in, I'll find something on anybody, just tell me who. That's Tommy Robinson. So although he's out of prison in the next few days now, I don't know what will happen to him if he's prosecuted again under the Terrorism Act. The hearing was about half an hour, and it was a small attendance. I don't think a lot of people knew about it in advance. There were 2 other journalists in the room besides myself. The public gallery only had a half a dozen people in it, including close friends of Tommy. I think he wanted it low-key for some reason, I don't know. But I heard about it and I live tweeted it. You can follow my live tweets on the subject at TommyReports.com. And I feel it's important for me to be here for all these hearings to document them. I try and type as fast as I can. I don't get everything. It's not quite stenography, but I try and reflect what it was like in the courtroom. Besides Tommy's lawyer, there was a lawyer for the Solicitor General, the cabinet minister in the Starmer government, and he didn't particularly oppose Tommy's release. I think he realized that Tommy Robinson had done everything he could to get the film down.
So you can pause that.
To me that the Solicitor General of
good news
UK,
and bad news. So after it was announced on the 21st that Tommy Robinson is finally getting out of prison, Tommy was charged with contempt of court for releasing the documentary the establishment didn't want you to see. And then on the 22nd, like the very next day, it was announced the Crown Prosecution Service is actually charging Tommy with harassment. And there were 2 men The two men he is accused of harassing are paparazzi that tracked him down on a holiday abroad and doxed his family. And Tommy said, I'm going to come out and I'm going to film you. But they filmed him.
Right.
And now he's charged with harassment. So he's going to be back in courts again.
So, Leah, you know, here's my question. I think that there's a valid argument to be had for some of us that may say, you know, or at least I feel this way. Tommy, just stop. Just leave your country. Mm-hmm. You can be an American, and he's thought about it, by the way. You can just come to America and do your work from there. However,
but could he actually?
I don't think so. You know, and that begs the question. And so that's why I started off the show by telling you guys, like, the only way that Tommy's going to be able to do this is with the power of God. And when the more that, you know, Leah and I are in this, and the more that God is taking us through the fire, the more I realize that literally everything is spiritual. Everything is demonic. And you can't fight demons with the rule of law. Like, it doesn't work. Now, here's the interesting thing. Both with the Magna Carta and here in the United States with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, both of those documents are godly at their inception. So there is a power there. Don't get me wrong. Okay. There is a power when your rules are based in God, but it still comes from God. And so you still need God in order to see those realized before your eyes. Yeah. And so like on the one hand, like, just for Tommy's sake, I'm just like, just go to Canada, go to America, wherever you can, do your work from there. But at the same time, I don't think that he can do it from those places. Yeah. And the only way that he's going to be able to continue his work in the UK is through God defending him, because otherwise they are going to keep throwing everything that they possibly can at him. They're going to arrest him for a hangnail. They're going to arrest him for sneezing out of the left side of his nostril. Okay, like, whatever it is, they're going to find something on this guy. Just like Ezra said, show me the man and I'll find you the crime.
Yeah, I want to play this video. This is from somebody called Don Keith on Twitter. He made this video when they were sending Tommy to jail. I just kind of want you guys to go over why, you know, his documentary silenced and why he was actually put in jail in the first place.
Okay. I think I got it.
You know, there's a lot of talk right now about journalist Tommy Robinson in the UK and the fact that he may be going to prison for years because he had the nerve to show his documentary film called Silenced. So if you haven't had time to see the film, let me explain the controversy in a brief nutshell. It all started with this short video of two boys in a schoolyard scuffle. One of the boys is white and English, and the other boy is a Syrian refugee. Now, at first glance, you might say, well, what's going on here? One boy is holding the other down and pouring water on him. And if you're a really rational person, you might ask yourself, well, why is this happening? And you might want to know just a little more about the context of the situation. But the mainstream British media isn't rational, and they didn't ask any of those questions. No, what they did is they immediately took this video and ran with the global headline, "White racist bully waterboards a poor Syrian refugee," while at the same time painting the Syrian boy as a little angel who never bothered a soul. And people like Piers Morgan even called for the retribution against the English boy.
Everybody was exposing the scumbag that did this, who I hope gets severe retribution.
A teenager with his whole life ahead of him until it was ruined by people like Piers, who didn't do their due diligence before condemning him to the entire world, to the point that the boy even became suicidal and had grown Muslim gangs with machetes out in the streets looking for him. In fact, his entire family had to go into hiding because of these irresponsible media reports. So this is where Tommy Robinson comes in. Being familiar with the leftist media in his country and their tendency to twist reality into whatever shape necessary to fit their leftist agenda, he began a massive investigation to find the facts about the incident in the video. And what he found is really shocking. According to witnesses, the Syrian refugee was no angel at all. He had a long history of bullying young girls and even physically assaulting multiple children. He beat one girl with a hockey stick, requiring her to take pain medication for the long-term back injury he caused. He bit another English girl on the head while she was being beaten by other Muslim girls. One boy said that he was stabbed by the Syrian refugee with a compass, and his school records even indicated he was caught with a knife and a screwdriver. Another boy said the Syrian would attack him almost daily anytime he saw him. He called grown women fat white bitches and was often put into detention for his behavior. And do you see this blue cast on his arm? Witnesses say that he got that injury because he, at the age of 15, was punching a 12-year-old kid in the face repeatedly until another kid threw him off the boy and caused the injury. But what about this image, the one that started it all? Well, as it turns out, the Syrian boy had threatened to rape the English boy's 9-year-old sister earlier, and this was their big brother taking up for them. I think a lot of people would have probably done more than splash him with a little water if that's the case. Now, as shocking as all this may be, it's not nearly as shocking as what the school did to hide all of this negative information about the Syrian boy from the public once the mainstream narrative had taken hold. It's the reason that none of the witnesses that I mentioned before came forward, because Tommy Robinson found through his investigation that the school spent £250,000 paying off the witnesses who all signed non-disclosure agreements to never talk about any of it. Now, why didn't the mainstream media, why didn't the rest of the mainstream media report that to you? But it gets worse. The family of the Syrian boy ended up suing Tommy for revealing what he'd found out in his investigation as a journalist. And the judge in the case ruled in their favor, costing Tommy millions. Even when multiple witnesses in the case did come forward, teachers, students, respected members of the community, the judge said that all of them were lying and the Syrian boy was telling the truth. The court then ordered an injunction against Tommy playing the documentary he'd made, silenced, so that no one could ever hear the full story. So Tommy had a decision to make here. Should he honor the court's injunction and let the young English boy's life be ruined by what witnesses all claimed were lies about him? Or should he play the film and vindicate the boy so the world would know he wasn't the terrible white racist bully they'd all made him out to be? Well, if you know Tommy like I do, he's always one to stand up for the little guy and the underdog. So he showed the film. And for that noble gesture, his reward may be a 2 to 4 year prison stint in Belmarsh, the UK's most maximum security prison. So if you're watching this video, please...
Dawn, thank you for making that video, because I have watched Tommy explain his video. I've watched the story. I've watched missing the film. I keep missing and understanding what happened here.
I remembered it. I remembered it all.
And it's kind of hard to keep track of.
It is hard to keep track of.
So now he's reminding me, but there are details that he pulled out there that I didn't see in the film when I watched it. I did not know that what spurred that on was the threat to rape a little sister. That white boy should be given a medal.
Exactly.
He's a hero, and he should be on all the talk shows.
Yeah.
And he should be talking about how we don't. You know, I get to where I don't have the right words, because the whole world was upset about a bully. They thought it was a bully throwing a little water on this guy. But why aren't they upset if the Syrian kid beat a girl with a hockey stick? You know, why aren't they upset that he threatened to rape? Why aren't he upset that he's wearing a cast because he beat a 12-year-old?
This actually goes to the Resistance Chicks family meeting that we're going to do.
I can't even.
We've had quite a few conversations with people, many actually, probably at least 20, 25 now at this point. And I would say 99.9% of them have gone the way we expected. Because when you see someone, they're going to be they're deep down inside, the people that you love and trust are going to have seen similar things as well. But what I'm getting at is that there are a whole group of people that still follow this person, and they cannot handle. Once you believe something and you become righteous about it, there's just something innate in all of us that we just don't want to allow ourselves to see it any other way. Like, we can't.
Right.
We cannot, because it breaks something inside of us.
Like Piers Morgan, right?
Yeah.
Like, I like appears he's a righteous indignation kind of guy.
Yeah, like he
And when
believes that
something
he's
is
standing
not
up for
just,
right. Yeah.
But did he come out with something like, "Oh my gosh, bring this family on. I'm going to help pay your legal bills.
Right.
I can't believe I said that about you. You're a hero. If somebody had threatened to rape my little sister, I would have done even worse. Like, you're the good guy." And
Once somebody
and now
gets
in the
something-
whole of UK, you're not allowed to say anything about the Syrian kid.
Once you get something stuck in your head,
Yeah.
it really takes the power of God to get it out.
Especially if you felt righteous
If
about
you
it.
felt like this was at the core of my being the right thing.
Right.
You know, that's why what happened to us has been so difficult, because we never would have done anything if we didn't believe it in the core of our being, which also goes to the whole Trump narrative, right? People are, it's like, it's in the core of their being
That he's a God's.
that he is God's anointed
Yeah.
one. And, you know, but here's the deal. It shouldn't make us feel stupid, because the same thing happened to David with Saul. Time and time again, David had the opportunity to take Saul out, and he's like, don't touch God's anointed. He's God's, and he knew that he was God's anointed.
You know, that's something nobody talks about. Saul was no longer God's anointed.
I know.
He was not anointed by God.
But even David, it's like, I got it in my head. He's God's anointed. I can't touch him, right? And so that's, I think, so many of us, like, this is, it's a dilemma as old as time. So that's why I'm like, you know, even for me, it's difficult when we've said this before. I have no problem telling you guys the things that we've messed up on. I was really excited about Fauci and Deborah Birx
In the very beginning.
in like the first week. Do you remember? We were covering
all
it, and everybody was
excited.
like, Trump's brought in these people. They're going to be amazing.
I think what we were excited about, or not excited, I don't know if that's the right word, but hopeful. Yeah.
In them.
Was because
If Trump brought them
a whole
in,
team,
yeah.
and the world was with that's the team.
Right.
Trump
And you know
was
what
the-
else? So we had, goes to like, you'll trust people that your friends tell you to trust. We had a friend named Mark who sent me a message like that day, like that Fauci got introduced. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing. He's been in the health for like all this long and all this time. And he's been doing all this stuff, and he's so amazing, and it's going to save the world. And it's so awesome. And so I was like, okay, great. You know? And so, but slowly we began to go,
I even thought I had a dream about Deborah Birx was like,
I was like,
protecting Trump.
every time they went out and spoke for the first like week, I was like, look at these people. This is so great. Look, Trump's got this task force.
And they prayed.
Got
On their knees and prayed.
Con artists.
Ten-
So
my
when it
tens.
comes to this specific story, when you believe something so fervently and you believe that it's the right thing,
Right.
switching your brain out of that, it's really hard, which it should actually make you feel very comforting.
Yeah.
They're comforted that inside of us is a kind of good stubbornness. You can't take my right from me. You can't take my goodness from me if I know something's right. And so I think that on the one hand, and as a human being, it should make you feel good that that's in you. But the problem is, it shouldn't make you feel good that you're so easily swayed to start with.
All right, let's play this clip here. Maybe skip the first second because it's already a curse word here. And maybe like, because I want to play this. This is a kind of a, that's it. You had it.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
This one?
No, to the left. Yeah,
Oh,
Tommy.
Okay.
So skip the first just a little bit.
Well, like how far?
Like the first 5 seconds.
Well, I'm at 7.
Okay. Are you screen sharing?
Yeah.
Okay.
My 3 kids, yeah? England's changing forever. There's 1,000 years of history in this country.
Why do you love the country so much?
Because it's part of who we are. It's part of our history, it's part of my bloodline, it's part of... And it was the best. And what's it changing for? Are my children going to have a free, loving, safe environment? No, they're not. You give me 4 years and the world is going to wake up to your bullshit. That's not going to it's going to hurt me, but I'm willing to be hurt. And I was offered a deal to just plead, it would all disappear if I just give them £50,000. Otherwise I'm going to lose everything. I thought, I can't throw them under the bus. I fucking can't. Give a message to my kids, to my son. We have to be strong. We have to be strong. And this is the conversation I had. I had it the last time when I was going to jail. Sometimes doing the right thing is doing the wrong thing.
Interesting. what other people think is wrong.
And not just that, but I think even the wrong thing for your kids, for your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was talking about talking to his kids about having to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
And but again, and I'm not going to like throw anybody that uses the F-bomb under the bus and say you're not a Christian. That's not it. Tommy, to my knowledge, has not fully confessed Jesus as his savior yet, even though he's very, very close. But I'm just going to use that as an example for what I was saying earlier.
You can't fight evil.
You can't fight evil,
especially with curse words. I will tell you guys, find a way to, when you're angry and upset. We've had some conversations with a dear friend of mine, and we were like, so-and-so, we love you, brother, but the F-bomb. And he's like, no, you're right. And it was funny because this is you can't curse with the world's cursings. You can't curse Satan can't cast out Satan.
Yeah.
And Jesus had said, if I cast out demons, then you know the kingdom of God has come unto you.
Yeah.
But Beelzebub, you think that I'm casting out demons by Beelzebub.
Yeah.
Satan. But Satan can't cast out Satan. And the violence behind curse words.
It's a tool. Like it is. That's why you feel it.
Tool. You can feel it.
You can hurt other people
with curse words. Yeah.
With curse words. It's an actual weapon. But the problem is that if you're trying to take out the enemy with the enemy's weapon, all it does is make the enemy stronger.
I was having a conversation with somebody on this particular topic that we will be doing in our family meeting, and she got very mad at me, and she told me some things and started swearing at me, and then she came back and like didn't really apologize, but she just explained. She's like, I've just learned in my life that when I need people to get my attention, when I need to get people's attention, I just need to swear at them. And then they will listen to me. And I'm just like, that's the devil, because they're not listening to God when they're listening to you swear. And so if you need somebody to get something and you get their attention through swearing, you're actually both now working for the enemy. Mm-hmm. Because if you think that maybe somebody's working for the enemy and then you swear, now you both are.
Yeah.
And you're both in a ditch.
Right.
So, let's just pray for Tommy right now. God, I just lift up Tommy. I just pray that you visit him with your power, visit him with your presence. I thank you, Father God, that you are going to, I just pray, Father God, if his family can be restored, that you restore his family. I pray that you bless his children, that you give them comfort, that you actually give this family the gospel, so that the gospel is the comfort.
Amen.
And that they would rely on you and they would know you. And that they would know that the word of God is what you use to refute any of this radical Islamic teachings. And I just pray for Britain, and I pray that there will be a watershed moment where everybody is waking up and saying, we are a Christian country. We want to rely on Jesus. God is real. His son did die on the cross for our sins. We do want to be purified. We do want to be made righteous. We do want to be honest. We do want to be holy. And we want to get out foreign invaders in Jesus' name.
Amen. I want to say something extremely controversial, maybe not to you guys, but I think it probably is to the rest of the world, and specifically to anybody that's not a Christian. I don't want this to be offensive, but it's just a fact. There is nothing, not a single thing in this entire world worth giving up your freedom or your life for if it isn't for God.
Wow, that's true. That's true.
So Tommy is willing to go to jail, quote unquote, for the right thing. Mm-hmm. But if you aren't doing it for God and you're not doing it for Jesus, it's not worth it.
But I think it is. I think he is.
I think so too. And that's where my sheep know my voice. I believe that Tommy is going to come into the fold. But we need to understand something, and that it's really important that you can't. Like if Tommy doesn't know Jesus right now and he were to die, he's going to hell. Even if he gave up his life, even if he sacrificed his family, even if he sacrificed everything.
Right.
So it's not worth it. Right. Because all you have, if you don't have eternity, all you have is this world right now.
Right.
So there's nothing, you can't give up your life. You can't sacrifice. You can't martyrdom your life.
So I think that's deep
without Jesus
inside of Tommy to know that there is a Christianity there. So Tommy's account has been tweeting out. Michelle, you bring this up. Sure. He tweeted out, the legacy media version of this in Glasgow today will be far right face off with Free Palestinian supporters. But instead you've got these free Palestine people. And why are they in Glasgow? Why are the brainwashing on the people to be pro-Palestine is ridiculous. But what I love is these little elderly ladies there. Look at these hardcore elderly pensioners. That's what they call them there. Raving the British flag.
They're the counter protest, right?
Yes. The British flag. We don't want somebody else's flag to be flown. And I am just so... And the headline, look at the far-right protesters. Grandma here. Just saying, and Britain be British. Put your Palestinian flag away.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? So I want to go back, instead of closing this out, because there's an admin on Tommy Robinson's account, and there was a big protest in Wales. I don't know if you went to it, Barry, but they were, let's see here. People were protesting immigration. This is Alan Miller, co-founder of Together Declaration, weighs in on the growing unrest in Wales.
You're here today at this very important nationwide protest.
Yeah, so I happen to be in Wales. We're doing some stuff with some friends at a big festival, and I thought it was very interesting, the Great British National Strike. I think the idea that people want to come and do things. I'd spoken to Rich just to see what's going on. But he said I come down to Swansea, which is great to see people out here. It's good to see the response of the cars, and we've had some interviews with people, just why they're here, what their concerns are, and together we share many of these concerns. We've campaigned around against net zero, we've campaigned for free speech, against deplatforming, for cash, to make sure that we've got control, take back democracy, that we don't just have technocrats imposing things on us, don't call people, don't try and pretend it's all about the far right when you're talking about our communities, our towns or borders or anything like that. So many common interests, and we think that people in Britain are very concerned, and we love to come out and talk to people.
So that's amazing. So they've got a lot of issues in hand. Sounds like they're a conservative libertarian, and they there was a counter protest there at Swansea.
Go on, you go. No, I'm press here.
You're press?
Yeah, I'm from Germany, and I want to...
Are you from the Voice of Wales?
No.
No, you're not.
So let's see here. Let's see what. Oh my gosh, that's great.
So I've been really impacted by all the stuff that's been going on with the government lately over the past 10 months. And the fact that they came into power saying that they'd got a massive hole, and they've done nothing but since give our taxes. They've put our taxes up and NI and everything, and made people feel really low. The morale amongst the country is really low. And yet they're giving away our money, selling off Chagos, giving our money away to foreign countries. And another thing is that we've got enough of our vulnerable people, being the old, the sick, the disabled, people who need support. And we see all these illegal immigrants coming in, and they're given premium homes.
Yeah,
they're put into these hotels. They are now being put into communities in HMOs, and people are frightened. We don't know who they are. We have no idea who these people are. They're not checked for medical reasons. They're not checked for political reasons. There's criminals amongst them. The amount of rape and sexual crime is rife everywhere, and we're not allowed to say anything. So basically, that's why I'm here today. But thankfully, there's been a lot of people here, and it's been super peaceful, and we're all super proud to be here. We're not racist. We're patriots.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Let me read some comments over here from Barry. He says, Michelle, in the UK, cursing or swearing, as we call it, is all part of the rich web of the English language. Even Shakespeare cursed or swore in his plays, but they were written in Old English. See, the Old English is a little bit different. But he says, I didn't know about this protest. Otherwise, I would have gone. But he says, Swansea is a dump. It's basically full of immigrants who are spoiling the city. He says, British lions are actually starting to roar again, but it took a lot. That lot is Stalin, Starmer's government and migration. The UK is waking up to their agenda now.
Oh, we'll play one more from this protest.
Nationwide protest in Swansea.
I'm here because we're just sick to the back teeth of the way things are going at the moment.
Sick to the back teeth. I've heard it.
It's overtaken. 820 last week, a record number come in on the boats. They're getting everything, and the British are not. We've paid our taxes, and our taxes seem to be spent elsewhere. I want a better future for my grandchild. I don't want her to have to look behind her shoulder all the time and feel unsafe. That's one of the main reasons. our elderly, our disabled, everyone seems to be getting it. And when you got Keir Starmer, who was elected, apparently, backtracking on everything he said, if we went for a job interview and we put down on our resume what we were going to do and we backtracked on that, we wouldn't have a job anymore. Keir Starmer has to go.
So I heard about that Wales is a very labor-lasting country.
Okay, so this goes into the next story, which is absolutely huge. In March, the Trump administration actually sent a team to Britain to investigate on the ground.
I love it.
Free speech. The Trump administration reportedly dispatched a team to meet with victims of Britain's draconian speech restrictions amid growing concerns over the state of liberty in the UK, the United Kingdom. A group of 5 diplomats from the U.S. State Department were recently sent on a fact-finding mission in March to Britain to meet with pro-life activists that have been arrested for silently praying outside. This is like the worst kind of thought crime that you can ever imagine. Like literally, you're arrested. Like how can somebody do that? Like legit, like... You're arrested. Like, how do you even know? Like, you have to be honest.
So here's what's interesting.
What's going in your brain.
So I think I'm putting 2 and 2 together because I didn't know that you guys didn't have the right to remain silent. So here in the United States, when you're arrested, the first thing that you're supposed to hear is you have the right to remain silent. And so if you are praying and it's inside of you that you don't have the right to not tell them that you're praying.
The truth.
You know, so I think that might have something to do with it.
The Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, the DRL team, also met with UK foreign officials and members of the Ofcom broadcasting regulator, which was recently empowered to police speech on the internet in Britain by the controversial Online Safety Act. The legislation has reportedly become a major bone of contention between Washington and London, given the potential for the British authority to impose hefty fines on American social media firms for failing to police content on their platforms, like right now, right? Probably us. The Trump administration has publicly chastised Britain for its increasingly restrictive speech codes, and reports have claimed that the issue could become a sticking point during trade negotiations. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance raised the issue we saw in Europe during his landmark February speech in Munich and singled out the UK as the chief offender. He said, in Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat, adding, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscious rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons, in particular, in the crosshairs. The vice president specifically pointed to pro-life campaigners being arrested for silently praying. Just your thoughts. One campaigner, 74-year-old grandma Rose Daughtry, who just days after Vance's speech became the first person to actually be arrested under the so-called buffer zone, prohibiting protest outside of abortion clinics, said, all I did was stand there peacefully offering a consensual conversation to anyone who wanted to take me up on the offer. I didn't break the law. I didn't influence. I didn't harass. I didn't intimidate. This just can't be. It's disheartening that others around the world, including the U.S. government, have realized the injustice and voiced their support. Oh, it's heartening. Sorry. Trump allies have also recently raised the case. Now, this one is a little bit, it's different, but still important. So there's a 42-year-old English mother. Her name is Lucy Conley. And I think got her, if I got her picture up, but maybe you could put her in there so people could see who she is, Lucy Conley. Well, she said some things that were pretty inflammatory after a young man who had a migrant background in Southport stabbed 3 and killed 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift party. She had said, I don't know if it has the words here, what she actually said, but she did say, burn all the buildings down where the migrants are. I don't care. I'm just done. She took it down a couple hours later. She's never been charged with anything. And she's serving, how much time here? Hang on. I'm going to go back over here. I think Tommy's got it up. Tommy admin. So Lucy Conley here. It's a really sad situation.
So this is from the other side of it, but I can click on the Telegraph article here.
No, you can't. You can't read the Telegraph.
Oh, I can't.
It's behind a paywall usually.
Okay. Her 31 month sentence.
Her in 31 months in jail. 31 months in jail. She got heated. She was angry. How many people have had heated sentence? She was mad. Okay.
So I do have a question. So like, let's say you're in public and you say it. Why is it that like putting it out online is different than what you said? You know what I'm, do you know what I'm getting at? Like, I just feel like this is ridiculous. You know, you can't be put in jail for the things that you say.
Right.
Like not for 31 months.
Yeah. And then
they have to be able to prove intent.
Did she mean to incite violence? Did she like shoot the boar, right?
Right.
And here's the thing, she said it once. She's like, just burn down the buildings, right?
Yeah, just burn it all down.
And did you mean to burn it down with them in it? Did you mean for people to go inside? And that was before the protest. She denounced the protest, all the things. And so you would just, okay, don't use more inflammatory language, but you wouldn't put somebody in jail for, you wouldn't put somebody in jail.
No.
So let's hear what GB News has to say about the envoy here.
Sent US officials to the UK on a fact-finding mission after becoming so concerned with the erosion of free speech in Britain. A team from the US State Department spent days in the country and interviewed pro-life campaigners to feed back to the White House. The 5-person team met with 5 activists who had been arrested in the UK for silently protesting outside abortion clinics across Britain. The visit in March is the latest sign of the Trump administration's willingness to intervene in domestic British affairs. Of course, it was only yesterday that the president voiced concern on social media about Britain's march towards net zero. Well, I'm afraid to admit the ugly truth tonight that there is no such thing as free speech in the UK. Politicians can talk all they want about protecting freedom of expression, but the truth is they're lying. Whether they're lying through ignorance or something more sinister, they're lying nonetheless, because free speech does not exist if there are consequences to it. That kind of environment stifles creative thought out of fear of being cancelled or, worse, as we've seen in this country, imprisoned. And the visit of American Conservative star Charlie Kirk to England this week reminded me of this. I spoke to him about Lucy Connolly, who we all know now as the mother and childminder who was banged up by the state for a solitary tweet during the Southport massacre that saw her given a 2.5-year sentence. As a reminder, this is what Charlie Kirk said about Lucy's situation.
Try to get the U.S. State Department involved. I don't know if you know what their bandwidth is here, but I'm sorry, like, again, I'm speaking as a citizen, not as a U.S. government. I just want to be very clear. Like, is this a way that a liberal democracy and an ally of the United States acts? Just to be clear, what she said would not be any prison time in America. I don't like what she said, but she showed contrition.
Well, Charlie returned home to the US a few days ago, and he talked about his GB News interview with me on his show. His analysis was sobering.
The UK culturally felt like America before Donald Trump went down the golden escalator. They're in the abyss, but culturally, there is this kind of silent, are we allowed to say this? Are we allowed to challenge this? Are we allowed to talk about this? Are we allowed to question this?
Well, it's not just Lucy Connolly, is it? Dozens of British people every day are being arrested by Stasi police forces for thought crimes in Britain. One of the most prominent recent examples was that of retired Special Constable Julian Fawkes, who was handcuffed at his home by Kent Police after he replied to pro-Palestinian activists on X. He was interrogated and given a caution, but not before officers ransacked his home and commented on his, quote, Brexity books.
Brexity books.
In cuffs. The rest of the officers all piled in past me. And for the next hour and a half, I sat with one of the officers while his colleagues, the other 5, basically went through every room, every drawer, wardrobe, cupboard in my house. They were in the loft, they were in the garage, they were in the garden shed.
Well, then we have the 18-year-old footballer, Cerys Vaughan, who was banned from the game for asking a trans opponent, and Cerys is a young lady, by the way, for asking a trans opponent, a biological man who was cheating by opting to play against women, if he was indeed a man. And what about Matthew Toomer, the gay railway station volunteer thrown out of West Midlands Railway's Adopt a Station scheme when he privately contacted bosses about a Progress Pride train? Or the Waitrose wine specialist, Ben Woods, who was sacked by the supermarket in March because of his posts on X under an anonymous account. He was doxxed. He'd been working for Waitrose for 25 years before they threw him under the bus. The truth is, there have been countless times on this channel and on this show where I've had to hold back from saying something I want to say or alter my delivery because of the consequences of what I really want to say about the direction of travel in this country. It would, quite frankly, get me in hot water. That is not free speech. And it's not the fault of GB News, by the way, either. They are operating in an environment where far-left campaign groups have been doing everything in their power to shut the channel down. And they want to shut the channel down because, like in George Orwell's 1984, whoever's funding these communist groups want you to reject the evidence of your eyes and your ears. They want the everyday man, you and me, the everyday woman of this country, feeling like a pariah for disagreeing with the most basic and fundamental of issues affecting this country, such as immigration. They don't like it when people like me, by most measures a normal thinking person, call out mentally ill cults or child abusers or government-sponsored psyops. They did it during COVID, making people feel like they were the odd one out for being concerned about vaccines or standing 6 feet from each other without scientific evidence. Now they do it with every other topic you can think of. So I say tonight, Charlie Kirk is right. Britain gave free speech to the world, but now we live in a tyrannical police state run by tin pot dictators.
Oh, that was very well
said. And I do understand when people curb their speech, but I really appreciate when they tell you that they are. Because we'll tell you, you know, on YouTube, you cannot, now we know, they have just recently, within the past year and a half or so, have added a new medical disinformation flag so that you can't talk about anything but mainstream medical things. I think you can talk about food in a certain way, but you can't talk about it even in a way that might cure cancer. Like you have to say, like, maybe you could do this in addition to your regular cancer treatment. Like you have to put the required thing at the front, like, please continue to do your mainstream treatment, but this might be okay. But anything that's beyond like food, supplements and things like that, they're wiping all natural treatments off of YouTube, which is where you used to be able to go. You can still find a lot of Dr. Pimple Popper though.
So, you know, I'm going to make this as clean as I possibly can. When we had Dr. Hyder on our show, he highly recommends taking coffee.
A certain kind of coffee cleanse. How about that?
Well, there's a certain kind of coffee cleanse that goes in a nether hole. Okay? A hole that coffee shouldn't go in. YouTube also agrees that coffee should not go there. Now, speaking to curse words and speaking to this person who is highly connected to the person that we are going to talk about in our family meeting that Leah was on the phone with the other day, the cursing that this girl did to Leah said, you can shove it up your blankety blank. Now, I'm pretty darn sure across YouTube, you can say that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty darn sure you're not going to get a flag from YouTube from anybody cursing saying you can blankety blank up, blah, 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 blah. Okay? You can say that. But if you want to tell somebody to take coffee and blankety blank, 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 that's it. You done crossed the line now. Don't you dare tell anybody to shove coffee up the blankety blank, 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 because that will send you to hell.
It's dangerous.
Don't you dare.
Don't you dare.
I said what I said.
You said what you said. Well, I know. Let's go to Canada.
Okay.
So I have to give you the ostrich update. Supposedly a drone killed one.
What?
Random.
No.
Yes. So they're down one.
Okay, well, here's the deal, though. Like, on the farm, things happen, but it shouldn't be
from a drone. No, it was a bloody mess. I'm not exactly sure which one. Let's play this one. The incident on the farm here. Breaking ostrich upstate. Dree Humphrey from Rebel News has been on the ground at the ostrich farm, saving the ostriches. A little RFK in the corner there. He's not really there. That's just a...
I never thought that a few nights ago that I'd be on the phone arranging messages between Kennedy and John Catsimatidis at 3 a.m. And I was drifting in and out of sleep thinking I was dreaming. But he said, that he would write a letter to our Canadian government, and we got that. So in that, it's Dear President McKinnon, thank you for taking the time to speak with us yesterday in connection with approximately 400 ostriches at Universal Ostrich Farm in Edgewood, BC. We are very grateful for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's willingness to consider the proposal we discussed, which is further outlined in this letter. We value our partnership with CFIA and look forward to continued collaboration on this matter and others. We are respectfully requesting CFIA to consider not culling the entire flock of ostriches at Universal Ostrich Farm. Given that a proportion of these ostriches were infected with avian influenza last year, we believe there is significant value in studying this population for several reasons. One, the flock is a controlled environment that enables longitudinal, I need my glasses, studies of the natural history status post H5N1 infection. Ostriches can live up to 50 years, providing the opportunity for future insights into human immune longevity associated with the H5N1 virus. 2, the potential to study both antibody levels and cellular immunity to help further our scientific understanding of the virus and the immune psychological response. Physiological response, The opportunity to study the important principle of antibody-dependent enhancement and possible therapeutics in the setting of prior infection. The United States Department of Health and Human Services, including the National Institutes of Health and the Food and Drug Administration, would like to offer our full support and assistance in conducting diagnostic testing and undertaking a long-term body of research on these ostriches. Well, we understand, it says, where was I? That was good. Yeah. The United States government has been tracking H5N1 and studying it very intensively to prepare for a potential epidemic, including working hard on vaccines and studying the interaction between the virus and the immune system. We believe significant scientific knowledge may be garnered from following the ostriches in a controlled environment at Universal Ostrich Farm. While we understand the importance of preventing the spread of H5N1, we believe the discussion to cull the entire flock of approximately 400 ostriches made nearly 6 months after the initial positive test results will not influence the current health status of surviving birds. Further, because of avian influenza has been around for thousands of years and is endemic in wild bird populations in the United States and Canada, efforts to extirpate, thank you, it by culling birds will be fruitless. There's just a bit more. Sorry.
My phone's been through more than mine has.
Technology. Unless we are willing to exterminate every wild bird in North America, we propose that our governments work together to devise more nuanced and thoughtful protocols based upon the emerging scientific evidence for controlling outbreaks in domestic flocks. Culling infected flocks would be a judicious decision, one that considers both scientific evidence and long-term impact of both animal welfare and our agricultural sustainability. The destruction of entire flocks without up-to-date testing and evaluation can have significant consequences, including the loss of valuable genetic stock that may help explain rare factors for H5N1 mortality.
I don't know what just happened to the audio. Oh, they were trying to put a mic on.
With respect to the specific ostriches at Universal Ostrich
It
Farm,
made it worse.
given that only a fraction of these ostriches died,
And then it didn't get hooked up.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
We
That's
felt.
good.
I know how that goes.
Yeah, we've
and
done
it didn't
that
actually
before.
hook up. All right, we got a couple more here. I think that might have been okay. So that is the same. That's the one. Let's see here.
So you had one that talked about the drone that said that the farmers thought that it was shot.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that one here. That's culling healthy animals has no moral value whatsoever, says South African Canadian protester Siegel Farrell.
Culling healthy animals has got no moral value whatsoever.
You've been here for 3.5 months?
Yes, that's correct. Ostriches have always fascinated me, coming from South Africa, large farms with thousands of ostriches. And my interest was to introduce the farmers here firstly of all, to the South African farmers to create a group that they could actually communicate with one another as to how the South African farmers managed to get exemption from being culled with the same policies, the same World Organization for Animal Health. They have the same stamping out policy. They have, from what I've understood, in 2005, 8 and 11, they've had infection breakouts. And in those times, they did have to cull thousands of birds. But as of last year, there's no more culling of ostriches in South. They're an exempt species. Are not poultry. Yet the CFA here in Canada still treats them as poultry. And the situation is that you can kill every ostrich in the world. You will still be getting avian flu outbreaks with chickens. So it was nonsensical for this. So I came out here to sort of talk to the family and be here to stand up and protect the birds.
I think 3.5 months being here is very dedicated. You must really care about the birds.
Yeah, I take on certain passion projects. I've been involved with various things, standing up for where I think something is very wrong from a government overreach. And at this stage of my life, I certainly am prepared to, be there and take on those particular positions.
Their faces are the
The
greatest.
mainstream media reported that the RCMP are monitoring this farm to ensure no criminal behavior. What do you make of this?
Well, they came here 2 days ago on what they call a wellness check, but we know they've been monitoring, surveilling the farm. My concern is that when I say they, potentially Canada Security Establishment is looking for a way that they can actually remove this camp completely, remove the people from watching. The media coverage that will be there, social media type of coverage, if independent people are all video recording, watching, will be a real slight against the CFIA and this stamping out policy, killing healthy birds. And certainly birds which have not been tested. So there is no reason to believe that.
So I just retweeted out the woman who about the.
I have a couple of thoughts before I lose them though, because I'm watching these people, they're camping out.
Yeah,
And what and this is the brilliance of what we have and we're associated with, which we're not members of right now. The Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. And the FTC
it helps
LDF
farmers who are facing regulations or overregulation, the raw milk, selling meat.
So if they come to your farm, the number one thing that you need to do is record. And you need to...
and the best thing you can do is have a bunch of people
a bunch of people come.
They tell you that every single time.
The reason why these people are camping out is so that if they come in... to try to cull these birds.
It'll all be recorded.
It's getting blasted on social media. And I'm going to tell you guys something.
Right.
That is the only thing
that's your best defense.
Keeping them from actually doing it.
It's your best defense, really is. And it's worked several times when you can get a bunch of people there when they're going to raid a food farm or whatever. Get people there recording.
Exactly. The other thing that I wanted to say is that, with this avian flu ridiculousness on this specific farm, this man was talking about, are they even considered part of, at risk for avian flu in the sense that these birds are not flying anywhere.
Yeah. If anything is happening, if it's coming into their
quarantined, they're quarantined.
Yeah.
The issue with bird flu is the idea that your flock of chickens
could affect somebody else.
Could affect local wildlife birds that then go and affect other birds. All right. You could say that about ostriches, but it's not quite the same. Like technically a chicken can fly. Okay. The ostrich can run. That's what they got going for them. They don't have the wings. They're not leaving anywhere else. So what you're doing is you're saying, we're afraid that other wildlife birds are going to come and eat from the same water trough, the same food troughs and the same water troughs as these ostriches. But here's what I would say to that. You guys are already admitting that you have this H5N1
It's already
outbreak.
in the wild.
It's already in the wild.
How did it get to the birds?
Are you going to go and kill all the wildlife birds? That's the whole point. You're trying to stop the killing of birds. This diagnosis on this specific flock happened 6 months ago. These birds probably don't even have the H5N1 anymore. Probably gone.
It is gone.
So the fact that they want to cull these birds just like after the fact, then they're not actually trying to curb anything.
Right.
So, okay, now we can play the video.
So go to my profile and we'll play the video of the owner talking about one of the ostriches being killed
by a drone.
Had another bird shot last night.
Two.
We've had a large drone flying over our property, and this is all under full investigation.
It's scary, but it doesn't change my resolve to being here. If anything, it strengthens it and it confirms. You know, like if there's a drone that's coming in at night and killing these birds, like this isn't just a chicken cull. There's so much more to this.
It's terrible. It's a tragedy. Who would want to kill a healthy animal?
Down the road of the ostrich farm here, it turns out that some gentleman, I don't know if I'm going to call him a gentleman, but some guy came by the cars, almost sideswiped one, almost T-boned one, tore off down the street. And now this is the morning after one of these ostriches was shot.
Out of this biggest challenge, I just keep reiterating that I think we just want to make the best opportunity, and we just want a chance to test the birds independently and prove to the world that they don't deserve to die.
Here's the thing: if they're not dying, keep them alive.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I've had chickens
thing.
just fall over. Let's play a couple more videos here. I've had chickens just fall over and die. Nobody investigated my farm. Over to the right, I think.
I'm good. I got you.
Yeah.
So at the farm, we are doing antibody research, and in that antibody research, so we inject the hen with an antigen. It's not a vaccination. It's just a dead virus from whatever we can go and help humanity and animals with. It's of no harm to her. And within 4 weeks, so her body goes into a response of creating beautiful, healthy, robust antibodies to to combat whatever it is. So in this case, you know, they have their herd immunity from H5N1. So the antibodies go down into the egg within 4 weeks. Then we can extract the antibodies from the egg yolk, and then those antibodies can be put into nutraceuticals and put into systems that we can help stabilize this viral crisis and many more in the future, including disease. So we have a natural opportunity, and that is definitely not what Big Pharma wants. You know, right out of the gates, $590 million went to Moderna to create the next bird flu vaccination. Canada's already purchased 550,000 doses of the bird flu vaccination. So if we're willing to go and put all this money into creating the vaccinations, how are we not using our facility, which is a research facility and solely has been based since just before COVID, when COVID happened, because that's when we changed our direction of our farm, to use the robust antibodies of these big prehistoric flightless animals that have lived on our earth for 70 million plus years, and look at them for the opportunity in which that they can do to heal animal and human health.
So this is interesting because some people are actually doing a kind of reverse on this. The question is, listen to this clip and tell me the attempted ostrich culling isn't the vaccine industry trying to wipe out the competition.
That's interesting. Well, we knew that there had to be, I think when we covered this last week, we kept saying, like, I feel like there's something more to this than meets the eye. And now you're getting it. And so I think that might be one of the reasons why RFK Jr. has stepped in. Maybe he's gotten wind of that.
Well, and here's the thing, though, are these birds are being inoculated and they are being tested. Some people say, I have questions. Viva doesn't want to ask. I wonder why. Hashtag save our ostriches from COVID experimentation. We inoculate our hens with the dead COVID-19 virus. Who gave them the virus? Who approved the game bird of function and experiment? People have lost their mind with bats and COVIDs in the lab. So some people say the story gets even worse. Bird flu doesn't even exist. And do you know the whole story? Why is everyone avoiding COVID and the WEF involvement? Does this sound like an authorized lab having access to a COVID virus to inject and experiment on these innocent birds? Who gave the authorization during a pandemic, dead COVID-19 virus So it is connected to Japan. And so I think that there could definitely be more to this. There definitely could be more to this. So the question is, what are these ostriches actually being used for?
Mm.
And are they being wiped out because they did get onto something? So I'm going to retweet this. This is also from the Rebel News. Let's see if we get a little more information, because that's a little digging here. Anytime you say vaccines, I'm going to be running away the other way, even if I like the ostriches, right?
Exactly.
Next phase was the lab we were working with said that we're working on developing antibodies that will counteract and neutralize any variant that comes along with COVID-19.
Mm.
So so we went for that, produced the antibodies in the eggs, and the first 44 cases of Omicron in BC, 37 of them were double vaccinated, which meant,
Preach it.
which meant that the vaccines didn't work. Same ratio as vaccinated to unvaccinated. And all of a sudden, Omicron wasn't important anymore because Pfizer and Moderna, Big Pharma, didn't have a solution. And so what happened to us is we'd sent the antibodies to the lab, and they phoned us up and said, hey, you hit the jackpot. You neutralize Omicron. And so we're on cloud 9, 10, whatever. So we're making plans to get it into therapeutics and help the population. I didn't hear from the lab for 2 weeks. They phoned us and said, hey, we got a problem. Got bad news. Oh, what's going on, Fred? He said, we've been bought out, your program is shut down, and we're under non-disclosures.
Wow.
And so what do? You know, we don't have the cash to fight Big Pharma for sure, so we just have them all in storage.
So let me make sure I'm following. I'm sure you guys watching are. But just in case. So you're saying that you were on the path of this groundbreaking research that was leading to a solution for the virus, and conveniently, who you partnered with was essentially bought out and silenced, right?
Yes, after they received a $13 million grant from the federal government to study COVID.
So she says, Dree says, remember the CFIA, which is like the USDA, FDA of Canada, came sniffing around the farm after an anonymous tip claimed the flock had avian flu. They only tested 2 dead carcasses with the controversial PCR test to confirm the tip and issued a cull order of the entire flock last year. If you don't know why the PCR test is the controversial, and yet how often officials have relied on PCR testing. So even now, after the birds have been healthy and likely immune for so long, why has the CFII refused to test the living ones? Why waste our tax dollars fighting these farmers? And why are we being told that these healthy ostriches need to die to save the public from the avian flu? I guess high quality antibodies extracted from ostrich eggs in Kyoto could be a practical response to viruses like COVID-19. So these antibodies, I'm guessing, could be used
like the monoclonal antibodies.
Yeah.
Right.
Meanwhile, despite all the complications tied to mRNA jabs from COVID, Universal Ostrich Farm's antibody research keeps hitting roadblocks. So I think what you're saying, these are these are treatments, not vaccines. Treatments. And vaccines a treatment is something that you only need to use if you get something. So it doesn't go as far. It's not a vaccine. And you don't need as many other people. So she said in January, she interviewed the UBC neurology professor, explains why these ostrich antibody-rich eggs could matter. He defends natural immunity like he did during COVID and explains how the eggs were aiding mask and jab research. So interesting.
No, that is interesting. So Stuart the Brit says that ostriches are tasty and that he had some in Africa when he lived there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's really funny. Hilton says tweetments. Get it? Tweetments. That was funny. Hilton, I thought that was pretty good. Let's see. Elaine says coffee ease in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Very interesting there.
No way.
Back to the y'all knew what I was saying there. Let me go to a couple of comments over here on Instagram. Glad that there are some of you over there. Jackie says, President Trump knows that if he fights against globalism head on, chances are that he will be killed. He has to compromise with some policies to help us. He will stop this nonsense. Then she says, after they gained power, they will change our laws to Sharia laws, just like in the UK. Almost all mayors are Muslims. The word Satan in Hebrew means against God. The use of words are not included in the 10 Commandments.
So speaking of drones, Putin supposedly escaped a massive Ukraine drone assault on his helicopter.
Oh my gosh.
Moscow has claimed that a massive Ukrainian drone attack targeted Putin's helicopter. Listen, if I'm president, if I'm anybody, I'm not getting in a helicopter. Okay, I know that planes go up high enough that we can get in our parachutes to jump out. Helicopters are just done, okay? So no more helicopters.
Okay.
As the Russian leader visited the embattled Kursk region earlier this week, Russian air defense officer Yuri Jashkin said on Sunday that Putin's helicopter was at the epicenter of an operation to repel a massive drone attack. The alleged attack came as the Russian leader visited the Kursk region, which saw the most significant incursion into Russian territory since the Second World War, after Ukraine's forces launched a daring counter-invasion last summer. During his first visit to the Russian region after expelling the Ukrainians, Putin's helicopter became embroiled in an unprecedented drone attack comprised of dozens of fixed-wings, unmanned aerial vehicles. So that's kind of crazy for Putin over there. Now, I want to talk about this report that came out from the French government. Fifth column, the Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated European institutions, Islamic associations, migrant communities in a bid to destroy the West. This is from a report from the French government. So this is an explosive report that alleges the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood network has embarked upon a decades-long effort to forge a fifth column in France and across Europe through infiltrating government institutions and radicalizing Muslim communities while veiling their true intentions with supposedly noble causes such as fighting Islamophobia. So basically, we're here to take over your country, but if you say that, you're afraid you're
an Islamophobe.
You're an Islamophobe, but yeah, actually, a phobia is an unnatural fear. It's just a fear. So starting in the 1950s with the emerging religious conscience among Islamic immigrant workers, the Muslim Brotherhood has since designed the matrix of political Islamism adapted to be established in the West. That's in a report commissioned by the French government, which is not a friend to conservative causes, okay? Paris intelligence said that after facing pushback in the Islamic world in the middle of the last century, the Egypt-founded Muslim Brotherhood turned its sights on Europe initially in countries like the UK, Germany, Switzerland, and later spreading to Belgium, Italy, France in a bid to restart the Islamic Western conquest strategy. Muslim Brotherhood founder Hassan al-Banna is cited as having saying, and I quote, "We will pursue this evil force to its own lands, invade its western heartland, and fight to defeat it until the whole world cries out the name of the Prophet."
Oh my.
The report found that the Muslim Brotherhood has not only clandestinely taken control of local Islamic institutions, the peaceful Muslims, thereby often controlling all aspects of many Muslims' lives, but it has also actively infiltrated government programs in France and in the European Union, often using hot button issues such as Islamophobia, a term coined by the Muslim Brotherhood to both rally support as well as masking their true efforts of subversion of the West under cloak of legitimacy. According to the paper, radical Islamists connected to the Muslim Brotherhood have embarked on a strategy of entryism of the European institutions using an activist lobbying network through the Council of European Muslims, the CEM, such as Islamic Relief Worldwide and European Council of Imams, as a base to influence local governance and as a springboard for members to infiltrate broad EU institutions in France and elsewhere. The very same European institutions then become a major source of funding for groups tied to the Muslim Brotherhood movement. The report noted that the French Ministry of Higher Education has recorded an increase of alerts of potential EU funds being directed to paying for the financing of projects contrary to Republican values and relating to radical Islam. Perhaps more concerning, given the historic waves of mass migration from Islamic countries over the past decade, the Brotherhood has built up a massive influence dragnet throughout Muslim countries in France, communities in France, and throughout Europe to radicalize more people to their cause, often targeting impoverished Muslim areas. Trained Brotherhood operatives are installed as managers of community shops, sports groups, private education, personal development service, employment assistance firms, and even dating sites, it stated. Per the report, this is done with the aim of supervising the life of the Muslim and spreading adherence to the practices such as forcing women to wear the veil, having men grow their beards, and the observance of Ramadan fasting. The report found that these efforts are often coordinated through mosques, which offer Quranic education courses to guide the quest of identity for young Muslims. Currently, there are 114 Quranic schools directly tied to the Brotherhood, while hundreds more are also of a fundamentalist bent. It also found that at least 280 Islamic associations have ties to the Muslim Brotherhood in an effort to act as an effective governing body for such populations in France. From charitable, educational, professional. So basically the fifth column is this is a government within a government. We know that China's been doing this in Canada and other places, but this is way more advanced. This is way more deliberate. It's such an infiltration. And then they get the people in the West, the media, to be their mouthpiece as well, so that when you say anything, you're shut up. At least 139 mosques are said to be directly linked to the radical Islamist group and act as a main emanation of the Brotherhoods in France. This represents around 7% of all places of worship for French Muslims, or 10% of those built since 2010. In addition to being a powerful weapon in using the principles of liberalism against the EU, the various population campaigns associated with Brotherhood-tied groups, such as those against Islamophobia, have also served to legitimize the Muslim Brotherhood within Muslim populations. So there's a new respectability around the actual Muslim Brotherhood. And they propped up campaigns to promote like eating halal foods and things like that. The ultimate objective is to tip all of French society into Sharia law. And that is actually the interior minister from France.
Oh, wow.
This is unacceptable. This is completely incompatible with the principles of the Republic and objectives. The Paris intelligence paper found that the Muslim Brotherhood subversion efforts extend beyond France. So you have Belgium, the home of the EU, capital Brussels, is described as the Brotherhood's European crossroads with a very close network of associations and organizations. Germany and Austria are also said to be active hotspots, given their status as historically the first lands of establishment of the movement in Europe. Meanwhile, North Europe, including the Netherlands, Denmark, and Sweden, we're talking about Sweden in a minute because they're taking it very seriously, is characterized as a smaller but real territory of establishment of the movement. For its part, the United Kingdom is branded as an advanced post to the Middle Eastern movement. Definitely. Countries in the Balkans, many of which are actively seeking membership in the EU, have large Muslim populations and have a living memory of the Yugoslav war and have become the main prospect of the development of the movement in Europe, said the French report, pointing to the creation of the EU-funded European Council for the Holy Quran in Sarajevo before its relocation to Milan. The report said that there is a risk of further funding through Brussels Erasmus education programs in the Balkans and would not only present a risk to the EU, but also play into the hands of the Muslim Brotherhood. So this is going on. This report, I don't exactly know what the report is going to do to change things, but we have Sweden, which is definitely taking this. It's over here.
Hat?
You want this hat? Sweden to investigate the Islamist infiltration, and so they're taking this seriously. The Swedish government has announced an investigation into the Islamist infiltration into the country following the publication of this bombshell report we just read to you. The French intelligence report published this week by the Ministry of Interior warned of this Islamic fifth column. So following the publication, the Swedish Minister of Integration, Mats Persson, said, I will convene an expert group to get a picture of the situation of the Islamist infiltration into Sweden. This is against the background of what has emerged in France. Sweden is mentioned in the French report and in many respects has similar challenges to France in terms of integration and countering parallel social structures that challenge liberal democracy. Pearson went on to say that the government will strangle foreign funding of religious communities where states fund radical mosques to push back against these Islamist and undemocratic forces. According to the French report, Sweden hosts an active branch of the movement, which in addition to its small size is characterized by its influence on European movement structures. The operation in Sweden accomplished this influence with the backing of money from Qatar. Now, guys. Can somebody just consider us to be a little bit more along the lines of the girl with the bangs? What's her name?
Oh, you watch her more than I do.
She's great, right?
I know.
But you know what I like about her is she is not Trumpy.
Mm-hmm.
If she's doing good things, and she'll say that. But like really, she's been talking about JD Vance and Palantir and all of this giant fifth column of the New World Order against the world, right? So I know that she would probably be all in on the fact that where did our president go last week, and why in the world does the president's sons have thousands of million, because that's the way you have to say billion now. Okay. Thousands of millions of dollars that they are receiving from Qatar, however you want to say it. Okay. I think we need to Qatar it out, Qatar.
That's good.
Okay. Here's the deal. The Qatar, I keep wanting to say guitar. They are funding the radical Muslim Brotherhood. So while they are shaking the hands with your president, Donald Trump, and you got Theo Vaughn out there like some sort of
I don't even know who's
I don't know what I'm supposed to be here for. I thought radical Muslims were bad, but here I am in a Muslim country. Y'all don't shoot me, Kay? Because I don't know why I'm here. But then you can give me some money in my pocket, because that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to say, go Palestine. Because if you're giving me $1 million, I'll just take it, man. Go Palestine, right?
He was literally paid to go, by the way.
He was paid to go. Probably a very large chunk of money, millions of dollars. And so with tears in his eyes, okay, he's like, and then it's just really hurting his heart for the Palestinians. And ain't nobody think that I am professional enough or important enough to try to bribe me anything. And I am just offended.
I'm offended too. I don't think anybody's ever tried to bribe us. That's offensive. Why not?
Not with big money. I want to, it's like they came out with Tim Pool, like they were being bribed, I think, by Israel or something for a minute. And now it's Qatar. Now it's Qatar. So Qatar is funding the Muslim Brotherhood, and you've got Donald Trump Jr. and Eric, and they are helping with the funding of radical Islam. Okay, so like this is not okay. And if you want to tell me like 25D chest, no. That's like saying we have to fund rapists and child molesters because then we'll catch more rapists and child molesters. Stop. And it's not even funding. Like they're taking money to build a stinking golf course. It's not like, oh, I'm undercover for $5.5 billion, thousands of millions of dollars to put in my pocket because then I'm going to somehow go against radical Islam and I'm going to stop the Muslim Brotherhood. No, they're in bed with radical Muslims. And guess what? Jared Kushner, all you anti-Jew people there, he doesn't care. He has no principles. He just wants to go where the money is at. In my opinion, he's got to be some sort of faux pretend Jew to be taking money from people who want his people dead. And the end of Western society. The end of Christianity. These people don't want to do Jesus, okay? They don't want to do Jesus. Do you guys remember what the Crusades were about? Do you know Hungary, so proud, standing up to the Islamic invasion. It stops here. The Ottoman push. Listen, I love doing this show. You know why? Because you have taught me, and I have had to learn history that I didn't know existed. I got a bookshelf over there. I've got 20 books from Poland. Okay, I watched most of the movies. I got to tell you, I didn't read all the books. There's a game too. I don't know how to play it. Maybe one day somebody will visit from Poland and we'll play the game. Okay, something but of mine. I appreciate it though, and I appreciate that the Polish and the Hungarians. I appreciate what the Poles did for World War II, and you guys don't get enough credit for that. And then
no, you don't.
And then Putin's people invaded you, the Bolsheviks. Boom, 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 and they kept you commies. And I know why you hate Russia. I get it. But here's the thing: if Qatar is funding the Muslim Brotherhood that has infiltrated all of Western Europe, it's now infiltrated all of these college campuses, and I'm telling you, all of these protests that Donald Trump is supposedly trying to put the kibosh on, they're making money with the people who are funding these protests. And these college institutions to brainwash these kids into being, hey, Palestine, don't even know where you're at on the map. But I know I see people dying and kids starving, so let me cry a river, okay? And they got Joe Rogan on it. They got everybody on it. And I got something in my throat because this is really important. Do you have something to say?
Let me read some comments. Let's see. Over here on YouTube, we've got Hilton said, same here. What is that even? Festing Nayag steam train started 2 fires, lots of work to put them out. Hagar Northman says, if I wasn't a Christian, I might think you were Valkyrie queens sent from Valhalla to enlighten us. Britt Baza says Hilton got to get up that way soon. Oh, because they're in the same country over there. And Stuart the Brit says Turkey also funds the Muslim Brotherhood. Exactly. Do you need to get one of my little things? One of my little cough drops.
I never have a problem.
But I know, but you do right now and you're coughing.
I do. I'm coughing. Because I'm all choked up about it. Where's your cough drops?
There were a bunch here and you cleared it off when Vlad came last week. I don't know what to tell you. Let me see. There might be one over here. Here we go. I got plenty of them. Ricola.
Okay.
It's not an advertisement, but they're very highly effective.
Okay.
So I actually agree with Leah on this. So I you know what they say you can do? We can ask for. I'm doing this. Leah's gonna get mad at me for saying this. So I had a KitchenAid immersion blender that I use for my health shakes every day, and I have tried multiple ones from the thrift store to save money, and none of them chop the ice. So I thought, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on Facebook Marketplace and I'm gonna get me a KitchenAid.
What's up with anything?
I'm getting to a point. I told you about this last night. But it was an older one, so it still isn't chopping the ice properly because it's like 15 years old. So I'm trying to save money because we're trying to be fiscally responsible right now. So now I'm double processing. I'm using the KitchenAid and the blender to get it to the right consistency. But I had to go over to a place called Sharonville.
Okay.
And it's upper middle class.
20 minutes from my house.
It's not even that far. And we met up with this person. It was this little Asian lady selling me this KitchenAid that's not even working properly because I need a new one and I'm being stubborn and not buying it because we're being fiscally responsible.
Okay, just get on with the story.
And I couldn't believe.
I know.
So Muslims have taken over.
They have.
That entire side of town.
I know.
Now, we don't get over there that often. Okay. And I'm standing outside the Kroger and she was running late.
Okay.
So I'm standing there for like 20 minutes.
Really?
No, for real.
Okay.
So I got to see everybody that's going in and out of this Kroger.
Okay.
And I'm watching these people. And I'm like.
Hijabs?
No, not so much hijabs as much as just like what we were talking about, the multiculturalism. Mm-hmm. It was all sorts of people. Mm-hmm. But you could tell that there were a lot of Muslims there. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how
did you get here?
Why?
Where did you come from?
What's the purpose? So you're mentioning these European countries. Mm-hmm. I'm worried about Route 4. Right. I'm worried about Sharonville. I'm worried about the West Side. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because you pass these giant mosques now.
I know.
Like
built one
big ones that you can see from the highway. I know. It's all like gold and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I am concerned for our area. So Leah and I were talking about this last night. And if this offends somebody, then you don't have to watch my show. I would love one day I actually wouldn't mind visiting the Middle East. Mm-hmm. I would like to immerse myself in a culture where like they don't want to kill me, but like to be able to experience their culture. Mm-hmm. I would love to visit Asian countries one day where I can immerse myself in their cultures. Mm-hmm. If I go to Japan, I don't want to see a bunch of like Middle Eastern looking people in Japan. I want to see the Japanese.
I want to see Japanese.
I want to see Japanese people when I go to Japan.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what is happening is they are infiltrating everywhere. so that everywhere looks like them. And it's
all
not
just a
just, but here's
hodgepodge.
the worst part of it. I'm not even just talking about the way that people look, because I don't really care what you look like.
It's
But
culture.
when I
It's
go
a
to
culture.
Japan, I want to experience the Japanese culture. And what they want is they want your culture to
be swallowed up.
In their culture. And that is why I find it offensive. That is why I find it disconcerting. That is why I don't like it. Okay? Keep your culture where your culture is. And if you want to move here and have your family culture be that way, that's fine. But you want to bring everybody here. You want to change our governments. You want to change our laws. You want to change our societies. You want all of our churches to turn into mosques. This is true.
Yeah.
By the way. They want to institute Sharia law. They successfully have done this in parts of Sweden.
So in Texas, did we show you?
Speaking of Sweden.
In Texas, they had this giant swath of land that like acres and acres and acres that they were just going to make just Muslim with like their own schools, houses, all that stuff.
This is unconstitutional, by the way. You cannot.
The governor actually put a kibosh on that. But going back to Sweden here, Sweden is a easy target for the Islamist movement, giving the nation's great tolerance of multiculturalism. The French government investigation also alleged that the Muslim Brotherhood took advantage of good relations with local political parties, including the Swedish Social Democrat Party and the Traditional Party of Government in Stockholm, which oversaw the vast majority of recent mass migration into the country. Social Democrats Party Secretary Tobias Budin said that the report does not elaborate on the alleged ties between his left-wing party and the Muslim Brotherhood, but said, we have zero tolerance for association with extremist organizations. However, some have noted that last year, the leftist party was forced to expel one of its members from parliament, Jamal El-Hajj, over his alleged ties to Hamas for reportedly attempting to lobby the Swedish Migration Agency on behalf of a Muslim Brotherhood-linked imam to remain in the country. Jamal El-Hajj is no longer a member of our party. It is because we are clear there should be no interaction with the extremist organizations. So, yeah, and they linked to another article. Legacy Media catches on to Sweden's failed multicultural project. It doesn't work. They've got. I'm just going to bring that up for remembrance here. The scale of gang wars is from 2023 in Sweden has grown to such an extent establishment media has seemingly begun to realize multiculturalism has ravaged their country. Everyone feels at risk, says Charlie Duxbury of the neoliberal Politico website on Tuesday. He reported, this is from a couple of years ago, a year and a half, that a fourth bombing had occurred in his area of Stockholm since the start of the year. So 4 bombings by that October of 2023. After the horse has bolted, Swedish vows to crack down on as crime soars. So again, the crime that is soaring in Sweden, and we've been talking about the fire bombings for a while there was like bombing, fire, cars. This is because of the Islamic invasion. And it's not just Islamic ideals. It also has to do with criminal gangs. They've got a lot of gangs, a lot of drugs. And Sweden being a very, what they would call one of these high trust societies where you could leave your babies out and like they do in Denmark. And their doors unlocked. When you bring in people who do not have your same shared values, which again, why is this important? Europe was founded on Christian values. Does not mean that everybody's a Christian, but it means it's ingrained the Christian values of don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't rape, don't murder. Those are Christian values. Those are not pagan values. Obviously, my ancestors did not follow Christian values until
I will cut your heart out and eat it. It's in my blood.
Okay. So remember, the Vikings went all the way down the African coast and in Europe, killing, raping, pillaging. Before, that's what Thor had them do. Okay. To enter into Valhalla. No, we don't do that anymore. We wear the Viking helmets for Jesus now. It's the helmet of salvation. Take the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, right? And we learn. I thank God that my ancestors were given the gospel of Jesus Christ. Oh, we're not going to rape. We're not going to steal. We're not going to pillage villages anymore, okay? But now you have people who do not have the gospel of Jesus Christ coming in to rape, steal, and pillage the villages. So what I'm saying is that we need to raise up the ideals of defense, not offense, but defense, but do so in the power and the love of God. Okay.
Are we done?
Yes.
Or you want to take your...
No.
No, you're going to leave it on for the rest of the show?
J.K. Rowling celebrates her fund, paying legal costs for women discriminated against over their gender views as trans mob explodes, calling her a dumb Nazi blank word.
Oh my.
So you've got the British J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter author here. She has a legal fund exclusively designed to benefit women who have been discriminated against for their views, to say that women are women and men are men and keep the men out of the women's spaces. So I think this is a wonderful fund that she's got. It's the JKRFW Women's Fund here. It will also help women defending women's rights from trans activists. The Fighting Fund stipulates it will not be providing legal services such as lawyers. Rather, it will help fund individuals and organizations working to protect women-only spaces. The Daily Mail predicts the fund will likely open the door to hundreds of applications from women who have lost their livelihoods or are facing employment tribunals because of their views on sex-based rights. So she tweeted this out. She said she's enchanted. Of course, she's the magic lady. To announce that since news...
Don't read the entire post. I scrolled past it because she uses a swear word and also a really crude comment. Again, with the Satan can't cast out Satan.
Well, that's what she is actually quoting words said against her.
Oh, okay.
So this is a fund to fight for women's rights. The website has received a rush of wonderful applications. Standouts include blank, 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 blank. Oh, these are some horrible things said against her. So Rowling has a history of backing women and has previously pledged to fund the legal campaigns of female prisoners who have been forced to share jails with biological men.
Oh, my gosh.
And strip searched.
Oh, my gosh.
By transgenders.
No.
So yay for her. I appreciate that. Now, in Hamburg, there was a mass stabbing by a chick, a girl, a woman, and she was sent to a psychiatric hospital instead of a prison.
What?
Yeah, this is insane.
You want me to read it? You're sucking on
I think
that
I'm good.
cough drop.
I'm done. More than a dozen people. Thank you, by the way. The itch is gone. How did one woman? I don't know.
The unsuspecting.
More than a dozen people were injured in a stabbing attack in the central train station in a German city of Hamburg, where were in stable condition. Police said Saturday, a 39-year-old woman, a German national, was arrested at the scene of Friday's attack without putting up any resistance. The Hamburger newspaper reported that two passerbys managed to overpower the woman and take the knife from her.
Oh my.
And the victims are 18 people, actually between 19 and 85. 3 women aged 24, 52, 85, and 24.
What?
Actually remain in critical condition.
Oh my
However,
gosh.
according to police, they are all in stable condition now. The attacker targeted people. What is going on? Oh.
Would you like me to read this article for you?
I've got sneezing going on. It's like, I don't know if I've got some allergies thing going on. The attacker targeted people on the platform of the tracks between 13 and 14 in the station around 6 p.m. on Friday. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, right? Like, and then she was taken to psychiatric hospital.
But we don't know anything about this woman.
No name, no nothing.
Just
That's
that she was
breaking news.
Just that she was German.
A German national. But I'm gonna guess.
Well, then she would have had been given citizenship or something.
A
She's
migrant
a national.
I don't know, migrant background of some sort. Has to be, right? Has to be, because get this. Government stat has revealed 1/3 of young people in Germany have a foreign background, and all people, a quarter of them have a migrant background.
Oh my gosh.
So a quarter of people in Germany, 25%. Now, these are not people coming in to do jobs, to become doctors, to become lawyers, to be even put roofs on your house. They're just there to ruin your nation, by and large, okay, and take money from you. Rising as many as 1/3 among the youngest cohort. Why? Because of the young guys coming in. This is not traditional migration. This is not my family wants to move here and become German, help me to integrate into German society.
Yeah.
Right? So it says that the Federal Statistic Office, the Status, published a demographical bulletin this week, noting that for the first time, the proportion of people who are either migrants themselves or born to 2 migrant parents
Oh my gosh.
Is 1/4 of the population.
This works out to 21 million people, an increase of 4% in 1 year.
Or 873,000 people from 23 to 24.
So it says that the status notes migrant communities in Germany tend to skew younger. And in the 20 to 39 age cohort, a full third of people living in Germany have that, quote, immigration history. So it says, while this rate of demographic change is significant, the status categorization of its data may conceal further change. Only first-generation migrants and those born to 2 migrant parents are counted in the headline figures.
It mentions if you have 1 migrant parent, you add another 4.1 million people.
Oh my God.
That's insane. The rate of immigration has surged in recent years. 6.5 million people arrived in Germany since 2015. Just new.
Showed up. Not even
And
born.
here, and those are mostly males, young males, mostly young males. So listen, Europe, you got to send them home. You got to send them home. They don't belong there. They don't belong there. You have to send them home.
So this article that Breitbart linked to says nearly half of the young Muslims want Islamic theocracy. Third, understand violent retribution for insulting Muhammad.
Come on. And honestly, I want to jump off of YouTube just so I can say what I want to say. I mean, like, we get on these rants, I know, and then we get censored and then, yada, yada. But why can't we call a tree a tree? Young men coming in from Muslim countries shouldn't be going into European Christian nations.
Stuart the Brett says, Leah, you got a sore throat because of the hat. The steam can't escape.
That's funny. That was funny.
That was funny.
So I want to did you bring this up?
I can.
I don't know if I have this up or not.
Is it on your X?
I don't know if I retweeted it. I just have it up.
Oh, okay. Well, if you had it up, then I probably got it.
Tommy Robinson tweeted out this guy. I want to see what he has to say. This is from live at Speaker's Corner today.
Maybe not.
Just go to Tommy Robinson.
Okay. You want to tell them what we're about to watch?
I don't know. He's a preacher, and I'm trying to bring him up. Brother Wendell, live at Speaker's Corner. Maybe he has some good things to say on this radical Islamism. I think you passed it up. It was like the first couple tweets.
Okay.
It's like the first third.
I don't
one.
do Twitter. Let me screen share, and you can get us where you want us to go.
Okay.
There we go. You said to go to Tommy.
I know.
I was just at his page.
I know, but while you were doing that, I retweeted it.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. It didn't show it.
Maybe it's for a reason. They're censoring it. Here you go.
I'm sure it is.
No, the book called the Quran, fake news. I will prove it. No, young man, let me ask you a question. Judaism. If, according to the Old Testament, hey, shut up, I'm not talking to you. Because of you. Please, I love you, but lose the jacket. Now listen.
He's talking to me now. He's talking to me
He
now.
doesn't know the difference. That's why I don't talk directly to him.
Okay.
Now, in Judaism, what did God say? If you were outside of Jerusalem, how did you pray?
You believe in a face. You face towards.
You face towards what?
East. Jerusalem.
Towards the temple. Why?
Because that's where the divine presence was.
That's where the sacrifice of sin took place before the Ark of God. Right?
Right.
So Islam comes along 1,400 years ago, and guess what they say?
You want to become a Muslim.
Let's go ahead and pray towards Mecca. That's called plagiarism. Plagiarism. Now, what did God say about how the Jews, specifically the Levites, had to wash?
How they had to wash.
You're not listening.
The Levites had to wash the priests.
Hey! No, the Levites, the priests had to wash themselves. before God. Before
the Levites had to sing.
They had to what?
Sing.
Sing? No, not in the Torah at all. It might be in your Talmud. They didn't have to sing. They got to sing. They sang because of the joy of the Lord. David wrote some of those, and he even made instruments. Right? So here, hey, I'm not done with you yet. Stand right there. Now listen. Islam copies the Torah and the gospel, and then they change the stories to their own idea called plagiarism, and that is called fake news. Fake news. God's word is faithful. Islam is a lie.
You want to become a Muslim, don't you?
Oh, right. I want to become a... I'm talking about Islam. He can't listen long enough to understand what I'm even saying.
Teach your own religion. Why bang on about Islam?
Because I expose a lot of evil things, like you.
This is your opportunity. Convert.
Convert? I can't do that. Don't you understand? I can't convert anyone. Only Christ, who died for the sins of the world, can convert anyone. That's your Islam. Your Islam says that we can do things by works. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who desires to follow me, though they die, yet they shall live.
How do you kill God?
Start
How do you kill
to
God?
listen.
How do you kill God?
You're just so confused.
How do you kill God?
You're going to need several months of coming. I mean, very, very ignorant.
How do you kill God?
What was your question?
No, you said...
Keep talking, I'm listening. I can multitask.
How do you kill God? Is God Jewish?
Is God Jewish? Jesus Christ was a Jew. And yes, he was God in the flesh. So he was a Jew.
Okay.
Next question. That was very good, sir. Very good. I do answer questions, but I do not answer stupid questions. So if your question is stupid, I will smile and say, next question.
Did Jesus
next question.
Was Mary pregnant?
You and I know we are sinners.
Was Mary pregnant?
All have sinned. All of us have fallen short.
So that went on for 4 hours.
For 4.5 hours.
So we got an American at Speaker's Corner.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know what Speaker's Corner is, it is a place of free speech, supposedly. It's literally the last place of free speech, which is interesting because people have been arrested there for their quote-unquote free speech.
Yeah.
At Speaker's Corner.
Have they?
Yeah, because we've covered it. And it's like, hang on, but this is of all places that you're allowed to be able to speak. It should be...
So Tommy's guy had
Speaker's Corner.
So last video of the day today, Donald Trump shedding a light on the farm murders in South Africa. This over here, South Africa has signed into law they can take the farmland and personal property of white people. They can take the watch off my arm. Race-based laws in South Africa are all anti-white. I want to play this video here on Africa's anti-white problem.
140 race-based laws in South Africa, all anti-white. And 8 days ago, Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, signed into law expropriation without compensation.
So this is in essence, they're taking farms.
Well, they can.
Yeah.
So they haven't implemented it yet. It's been signed into law.
Yeah.
And it's not just farmland. It's property. They can take the watch off my arm and they barely need to justify it. I mean, I liken it to having a loaded gun in the bedroom with kids running around. At some point, somebody's going to pull the trigger. And that's what this law is. And there's so many other laws in South Africa that are anti-white, race-based, and make it almost impossible for businesses to thrive. Do you know that most African countries have Starlink? We don't, because we have a law that every business in South Africa has to have 30% black ownership. And Elon Musk said, I'm not handing over 30% because I have to. We don't have Starlink.
It's insane.
South Africa needs a big wake-up call, and it isn't going to come internally.
So every business, unless if you have employees, so that's what people were saying is that unless you just start your own business, you can't get, white people can't get a job. And it's stopping people from opening businesses because you have to have 30% black ownership.
Wow.
Of all businesses. That is communism.
Yeah.
That's insane. You don't get to say, hey, Kellogg's, you have to have 30% black. We're going to check your DNA. How black?
Yeah.
50% black, 40%. That's insane. You cannot have race-based laws. You can't have them.
Well.
And people are like, well, what about apartheid? What about apartheid? What you do is you remove race-based laws.
Exactly.
You don't add them. So anything that would be stopping black people from doing things, then you would stop that.
So, and we live that exemplified here on our property. So when we were fighting our county and our township, and we had to go and look at our original like plat. We found out that on the original deed was that this property could only be sold to white people.
Yeah.
But interestingly, to combat that, down the road behind us, there are properties on that can only be sold to black people.
Or at one time.
At one
Those are
point.
legal now,
It's legal now, but I'm just saying. And it's like, wait, what? You don't, that's not, you don't, two wrongs don't make a right. You know, this is.
So what do you do to balance out apartheid? You let things naturally balance out by removing any law or any institution that was stopping black people from doing things. But you can't make people hire people. You can't force black people into different places.
Remember when we were doing our church fathers kind of historical programs, and we talked about the eras when we talked about John Hus and Martin Luther and all of that, the constant flip-flopping
between Protestant
and Catholic. And the Catholics would kill the Protestants once the Catholics took over. And then the Protestants would kill the Catholics once the Protestants took over. And you're sitting here going like, can we stop? You're all wrong. Everybody is wrong here. We are not killing people.
Right.
And that's what this is.
Yeah.
But that's why we always tell you guys, it's just demonic. And so when you try to take a side in these instances, you're going to end up siding with demons on whichever side you take. And that's what I want to tell people whether it's Israel or Palestine or, not so much with the South Africa thing, but when you're talking about apartheid versus what they're doing now, both sides are demonic. So if you choose a side, essentially either side you're choosing, you're going to be on the side of the devil.
Yeah. I'm going to scroll down on this video.
We're not screen sharing anymore.
Right here.
Okay.
This one. I don't know. This kind of is explaining the attacks here. And then we'll do our little.
Wait for it. There we go. Their audio?
Yeah, I need to skip a little bit forward here.
Past 27 years, there have been 4,200 attacks and 1,878 people paid with their lives. What makes these incidents different from normal crime patterns is that instead of waiting until there is no one home, they seem to deliberately wait for the victims to arrive. They are then often tortured in the most barbaric ways before being killed or left for dead. Black farmers constitute around 6% of South Africa's commercial farmers, and correspondingly, around 6% of those attacked or murdered are black. The National African Farmers Association says violent crime goes hand in hand with all rural life.
The rural attacks that are happening on a daily basis, you can't understand. Whilst we are sitting here in Johannesburg, our mothers are being raped on a daily basis in our rural area. Our sisters are being attacked on a daily basis. It's not a private farm of Mr. Serfontein, of Mr. Yancy. The criminals are attacking everybody where they see that it's a soft target.
While white farmers agree that some attacks have other causes, they feel that reckless politicians trying to score points are adding fuel to the fire. Black First, Land First say they don't support murders, but they don't have much sympathy with the white farmers.
We do understand that black people are upset and angry, and rightfully so, because land has been stolen historically and it needs to be returned. And so if black people are responding to that violence with violence, then they are well in their rights to take back land by any means necessary.
Inciting violence is one thing, but hiring assassins is another. We received a copy of a very interesting conversation between a national intelligence agent and a so-called general of the notorious prison gang, the 28th. He spent more than 20 years in jail for farm murders and was released in December.
They also told me while I was on the inside that when I got out, I have to contact Julius Malema, the guy from the Limpopo,
the EFF,
because he was also here now in September. Malema was in Pretoria in New Lock. When he got there at New Lock, he asked them, he said, when your gangs want a golden team, when you want a team, come and see me in Limpopo. I can give you a team. What I will give you is a balaclava, a gun,
and cash.
He says straight that he is against the farmers. He says you only have to murder a few farmers on farms.
We invited Mr. Malema to respond to us either on camera or in writing,
That's
but
a shoot the
simply
boar guy.
received a one-line reply from the EFF stating that the CIC is not available to take the interview due to his busy schedule.
Yeah.
This very serious accusation is still unverified, but until Julius Malema responds,
Ramaphosa knows nothing about this.
Farners Farms in Levubu.
He said they hid in the
Sultan's
mango
His
trees.
neighbor was murdered recently.
They drove over here. They jumped up.
They started stabbing him through the open window in the shoulder. He reversed and pulled with all speed, and then the steering wheel locked. And he came to a standstill where his vehicle is at right now, and they pulled him out and dragged him all the way back, about
The children were
50
still too traumatized
meters
to speak
away.
to us. They're trying to get the farm going again. One of the first farm murders in the region happened in the Bandelierkop district. Ernest Breitenbach now lives in the same house his dad lived in before him.
They actually put the number plate of the bakkie at his feet and the stoplights. They tied it to his feet with electrical wire, and as well as the front flicker lights. They also tied on both sides of his head, and they actually left him like that.
All the farmers in the area helped to search for his dad.
My one cousin that was also with me, he actually came from the front, and when I saw my father, I actually fainted.
This happened 19 years ago, but Ernest will never forget that day.
And then we aren't totally over it at the moment, but it's still in our thoughts and our minds of anything could happen again at any moment, and we have to prepare ourselves for any type of anything that could happen.
Herman also now lives in the house where his father was murdered.
It takes you about 10 years to live normally again. The first 10 years were very difficult. They say after such an attack, most farms fail, production stops, and it's halted. I also experienced it. You can't drive at night anymore to switch the pumps off. We are irrigation
The remoteness
farmers.
of the homesteads, coupled with the relentless attacks, torture, and murders, changed their lifestyles forever. The farmers have been forced to take responsibility for their own safety.
I made steel cages and put them up outside the windows so that they can't get in. Steel cage, still with burglar proofing on the windows also. It will give me that edge. I will hear if he tries to break the steel cage.
Fani is another Levubu farmer who has had to adapt.
How strong is it that I have to teach, wrong is it that I have to teach children of 10 and 8 years old how to handle a firearm? Just in case for that one day when daddy and mommy are injured and they have to defend
And every day at
themselves.
sunset, the idyllic surroundings make way for the same repetitive nightmare.
The evening has a ritual you have to go through. All your weapons, the gun safe is unlocked, you get the firearms in place, you check your guns, the radios are tested. It's a totally different life to the one that we were used to. He says before dark, we are in the house. Then I check that all the doors are locked. I make sure my weapon is ready, that it is with me, and that my wife's weapon is with her.
Most farming communities now have a farm watch, with the farmers doing their own patrols at night.
Here at my place, I won't go outside. People can say I'm scared. I'm not scared. I'm just not stupid.
All of Farners' direct neighbors have suffered attacks. When an attack happens, all the other farmers are on the response team. This means that virtually every farmer has witnessed the horror perpetrated on a close friend.
Here around me, Uncle Henny, my neighbor, Uncle Jan, our next door neighbor, at Hennis, Kelly, at Uncle Neil's and Maritz. These were attacks where they were struck down, where there was blood and death.
Many view the senseless and extreme violence as a terror campaign aimed at driving the remaining farmers off their land.
If you have observed a farm killing next to you, or you are from a farmer that you know, obviously you will be totally discouraged, especially with your family, your wife and your kids.
Agri claims it only reaches the media when there are white people involved.
The people who feel that white farmers are really targeted are the ones who are making an unnecessary noise about the whole issue. We don't see this as well, of course, any crime, we take it as just any other crime.
To many farmers, their occupation is a calling, and central to that is our food security. Henry Geldenhuys from Tau SA says we will all feel the loss eventually.
Farm attacks and murders definitely have a negative impact
speel 'n negatiewe rol ten opsigte van
on food security and on food on the table.
From AfriForum agrees.
We're nearing the point where we import more food than we export. And we also find that land reform, farms taken from white people and given to black people, 90% of them have failed, according to government. So farmers are employers and they are food creators, and they have a very crucial role to play in this economy. And if farmers are not there anymore, the problems that we have, or the debate about land reform, would really be like an ant compared to an elephant if you compare this to hunger and the mass amount of poverty and the problems that this country would have if we did not have farmers.
But there's also another theory that instead of uplifting the poor, it's better to reach equality by destroying all wealth not equally owned, including food security.
Black people aren't food secure. And so when people talk about food security, it's based on their own anxieties and fears that are unfairly entrenching their own wealth and not dealing with black people who are going hungry every single day.
This week, AfriForum won a court interdict against Julius Malema.
We had Julius Malema and the leadership of the EFF coming out threatening that in April there's going to be this big uprising and they're going to encourage, or they actually started encouraging people to engage in illegal land grabs. So what we've done at AfriForum, together with AfriBusiness, was to approach the High Court to get a court order that prohibits Malema in person and the EFF as an organization to encourage people, to continue encouraging people to do this. So in other words, if they do continue, that would effectively mean that they would be in contempt of court and they would be liable for criminal charges.
Afrikaner boys, the pop is all done. The EFF is coming for you, boys.
The EFF is coming for you.
The ANC has made you to think this thing is still Orange Free State. This thing is not Orange Free State. This is Free State.
So this is the thing that the actually I'm going to play one more video because I think it was sent to me by one of our viewers, because this goes into goes back to Palestine. So the reason why I'm not I got to tell you I'm not a fan of the Palestinian movement at all is because they are just like and quite frankly they are in cahoots with the same communist type mindset, which is destroy, 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 don't build anything.
Yeah.
So when you're upset that you don't have homes or you don't have housing or you don't have farms, then build them if it's not available.
Did
like
you retweet it?
I think I just opened it and I got to retweet it here. So this is a story sent by one of our viewers, and I'm going to take my helmet off, about an Arab Muslim woman who reveals the truth about Israel, being honest, and the truth about the Muslim Brotherhood. The same thing is happening with these black people. It's a death culture. If you want justice, that's one thing. That means you want to build, but they don't want to just build. They want you to have. They're happy to die.
Starving, Israel gave me everything.
As long as you don't have anything. This is what's called coveting. Coveting isn't necessarily that I want the thing. I want the same thing as you. It's that I want what you have, or I want neither of us to have it. It's the principle of Solomon with the baby. Like, let's just rip this baby in half, right?
Exactly.
The product of peace between Jews and Arabs, and how Jews and Arabs can live peacefully side by side together as brothers and sisters. My name is Sofia Salma Khalifa, and this is my story. I'm a Muslim Arab growing up in Israel. I'm a mother of two, and I have a master's from Stanford University. I was born to a Muslim family in Israel. My mom is a single mom. I have 8 siblings. My dad has 2 wives in parallel, and my mom decided she didn't want to live with his wife in the same house and didn't want to be in that village. And she went and moved to Nahariya. This is the Jewish town in northern Israel, where she raised us, 9 children, on her own. We were supported by the welfare in Israel, by the welfare system, because otherwise my mom would not be able to provide. Israel is a very beautiful and strong multi-ethnic democracy. Around 20% of the population are Arab Muslims, like myself. We also have Christian Arabs. We have Druze. The Arab citizens of Israel receive equal rights. They get welfare, they get education, they get healthcare, they get all the rights, the protection, anything that a Jewish citizen would get. My Muslim teacher used to teach us everything about the Jews who stole the land. He would be teaching us that we would never be able to become anything in this country because this is the Jewish country, and the Jewish people would not allow you to become an engineer. They would not allow you to become doctor. You cannot be anything. And we will have to resist. We would have to fight. We would have to do everything that we can to get the land back. I remember leaving these classes feeling like I don't have a future. But that really contradicted my experience with the Jewish people that I met. Because they were loving, they were kind, I was their friend, I would go to their houses. They didn't mind that I was Arab, they didn't see me as an Arab. They see me just as their friend. So it didn't land very well with me. I was with my girlfriend, she was staring, and I was asking her, like, what are you thinking about? And she said, like, you know, I really wish one day to become a suicide bomber. I really wish to become a shaheed one day. That moment really broke me to pieces. On the school break between 8th grade and 9th grade in the summer, I was discovered by a fashion photographer. That sounds really exciting. I should try that. But I knew that this is a choice of no return. I cannot step my foot in the village if I'm a model. I travel to Europe for work, and I spend a lot of my time in Tel Aviv. My uncle, my mother's brother, he threatened to cut off my head for dishonoring the family. And he obviously could not do that because we live in Israel, and Israel protects women. When he said that to my mom, she told him, "You won't even touch a hair on her head." I felt so empowered by her. And I wanted to send this message to all the Arab girls that you can be anything that you want. You can pursue any path that you want. It's very important to note that Israel pulled out of Gaza completely, unilaterally in 2005. They uprooted all the Jewish citizens who used to live in Gaza. All of them. All of them were taken out forcefully. After 2005, there was no Jew alive or dead in Gaza. They even take out the graves of the Jewish people because they didn't know what is going to happen to the graves. And this was a test case to see how a self-governing Gaza would look like. Gaza is a very fertile land. They had greenhouses that used to export flowers to all of Europe. And the hope in Israel was that we're hoping that Gaza can become the Singapore of the Middle East, this tiny country that has this very good economy with all the greenhouses, and they have the most beautiful beaches in the region, and they can go and fish, they can build, we're going to help them in tech. This is our path for peace. Days after the Jews, left Gaza, Hamas went and burned out all the greenhouses. They burned everything to the ground because this was the Jews' greenhouses before. If people care about Muslim lives or any Palestinian lives in Gaza, you first and foremost want to make sure that their leadership cares about them. And Hamas is a sovereign government of Gaza. It's a terror organization that hijacked the Palestinian people for their own religious cause of transforming the Middle East and the entire world into an Islamic state. Palestinians don't have the right to say the truth. They cannot openly speak about the atrocities that Hamas is doing to them. If they speak against it, they're dead. People keep saying, if you're calling Hamas a terror organization, this is Islamophobia. No, this is not Islamophobia, but this is the fact. I love Muslim people. I'm a Muslim. My family is Muslim. And I'm still condemning what Hamas did. Why people cannot see the truth about this situation? A lot of these people come from a reality that they teach you from a very young age to hate the Jews. the Jews stole the lands to the Palestinians. The Jews are responsible for all the atrocities in the world, and we just need to destroy them. So some of the people are brainwashed, and they're sometimes blinded to their own anti-Semitism. They say, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm anti-Zionist. Now, what does that mean? It's like saying, I'm for women, but I don't think they should have rights. Because Zionism means that you believe in the Jewish people right to have a state where they're safe and free from persecution, right? So how can you stand for the Jews and not wanting them to be able to defend themselves? And the other side, I think it's like a herd of sheep who are just like following whatever sound good to them. And they think that Hamas is the weak part, Israel is strong, and thus we need to support the weak. The weak could be a terror organization. And they're not that weak after we saw what they were able to do on October 7th. The everyday American should care about this because the West is going to be next. Israel is just the first. Some of the countries, the Arab countries, or let's take for example Iran, calls Israel the small devil and America the big devil. Is this what we want to support in this country? I hear a lot of people calling Israel an apartheid state. Maybe let's start with explaining what is an apartheid. It's a discrimination based on race. Arabs in Israel, who constitute 20% of the Israeli population, they're equal citizens. They're getting all the rights from Israel. They have education, healthcare, welfare, full rights, full protection. They're equal citizens for everything. Where's the apartheid? I'm very proud in being Arab. I'm very proud about being Muslim. But all I needed as a child, as a human being, to realize my full potential was give me the security, the safety, the education. Give me the opportunity. Israel gave me everything. I'm the product of peace between Jews and Arabs, and how Jews and Arabs can live peacefully side by side together as brothers and sisters. As an Arab Muslim, it's very important for me to speak out about these topics, to support Israel. You have to speak the truth.
So you
have
can
to stand
pause
just-
that. And here's the thing. Peter Sweden says, last week in Europe, 2 people were killed and several injured in a mass stabbing attack in the Netherlands. Not sure the difference between the 2 flags. The flags look like this, blue, red, and white, or this way. But I guess are around some, in Europe. 17-year-old killed after youth chopped him in the neck with an axe. 18 murdered. We talked about that in the Hamburg train station. A Syrian man arrested for a mass stabbing in Germany. Another one in Germany. A 12-year-old girl, victims of a mass stabbing in Hale, and in Sweden, a bombing attack. None of that is by Jews. I mean, I understand people are saying, yeah, but the Jews own the world and Jews do Hollywood and Jews do this. That's fine. And we should call it out. But to pretend like this is not a thing, to pretend like the Palestinians don't have an issue, to pretend like Qatar isn't an issue, to pretend like the Muslim infiltration in all of Europe is an actual pressing issue that you all can see, we can all see and feel and experience, is a lie. And so I have to focus on what I can see, okay? I have to focus on what I can see when I see my mom, versus what people are telling me is happening behind the strings, and the Jews are doing this. I really think that right now Israel is losing a lot of its influence and a lot of its power, and that what we need to really focus on is getting rid of the radical Islam. That's what we really have to focus on. So, okay, I think that's actually the end of the show. I don't know if you guys got some words here. I don't know, but I think we're going to sign off here. If you guys got any last, Lucille Ball's home was bought by a Muslim and demolished because the buyer did not deem it important. Interesting. The German people want to send many of them back, but the CDU lied and said that they would if elected. And the day after they were elected, they said that they would not. That preacher has guts. The black guy who said that the black women are being raped daily is delusional. No one is after. Okay, I'm not going to get that one. They are raping and doing crime all over South Africa, and they really need to, they've got issues. They really do have issues.
Okay, guys, so that's the show. What do we have this week coming up? We have a very, very special episode that I'm going to do on Tuesday for Healing for the Fractured Soul. If you know anybody involved in church abuse, clergy abuse, it really does stem all kinds of denominations. We're going to cover how to identify if you have been the victim of church abuse, particularly sexual abuse by somebody even as an adult. And we're going to go over that because there is a there is a power dynamic that happens when somebody is in control. Somebody is a spiritual advisor that inverts a relationship that can become very harmful. And we are going to spend Tuesdays talking about that. And we may play a video. There's a young fake prophet out of Dayton, Ohio. I shared him on our page. It's Mohammed something. I can't remember his name. Sunday sent it to me, and we'll cover some of what happened. What's happening right now. With I think it's Shane Winnings of Promise Keepers has been uncovering this, and to hear these young men's stories, we're going to cover that, I think, on Healing for the Fractured Soul. And this is a epidemic. All denominations, Catholics, Protestants, Charismatics. I'm primarily focused right now on the charismatic movement, but it's everywhere. In our movement, particularly the new apostolic reformation of Trumpy prophet people, they have been covering up for years. And if you want, here's the thing, guys, this is very systemic and it's very disturbing because these prophets are saying that they have all these words from God that Trump is supposed to be in office. And then these same prophets, Francis Chan, Mike Bickle, Rick Joyner, they all, Mike Brown, they all either covered up or are sexual predators in the church. And then those who, all these Trump prophets, none of them got a prophetic word about Mike Bickle. None of them are getting prophetic words to stop the sexual systemic abuse in the prophetic charismatic movement. And just even church abuse, fake prophecies going round and round. You have to be really careful with that. We're going to talk about that if you're getting words from God, and you can get carried away with things that you think you're hearing from God, and then people move across the country and do stuff, and then there are people who mean well, and then there are people who don't mean well and make things up to harm people. So join us for that on Healing for the Fractured Soul. No outliers this week, and then no. I think Leah and Kim are not going to be doing shows this Thursday, and so we are getting our Uncle Jack, if you want to pray for us, ready for knee surgery, not this Monday, but next Monday. So pray for us if you wouldn't mind. Hopefully he's going to get a knee replacement, and hopefully he's going to start living life again. So I know that a lot of people don't do surgeries and things like that, but he's been in so much pain for so many years, and we're hoping that he can actually walk again. We've done all the natural things we can. So pray for us with that. That's going to be a big week. And then Michelle is getting ready for the Mustard Seed Market. If you would like to go there, send us an email at massfaith33@gmail.com. We should have like 2 free tickets to be able to give away at some point. So with that, I don't know if I'm supposed to do any ads. I put on the Healing for the Fractured Soul every day. Pray over myself. And it does really, I truly believe it does balance your hormones. And I've been using the men's lotion on my face. I have been using the tooth powder as a on my face, kind of as a face mask. It's got stuff in it like bentonite clay that is actually good for your face too. And I did hear from the tailors that the young men have used the deodorant on their acne, and it's clearing up their acne. That could be the zinc oxide in there. I'm not sure, but that's pretty cool. So praise God for that. So you can visit us at shop.resistancechicks.com. Remember, you can always go to ITM Trading if you are in the market for gold and silver, and they can help you get out of, I really think you should use them for when you're getting out of retirement accounts, but they can help you buy gold and silver. If we get any, we're getting the Walking Liberty silver rounds, or silver coins. That's the ones we're normally getting. So we love you guys. Let's just cover all this in prayers. God, I just thank you that there's a whole bunch of people in the Middle East that need you. It's not just about keeping people out, it's about reaching them with the gospel as well. So, Father God, I just pray for a radical revival in Germany right now, in Sweden, all over Europe, and that the people who are supposed to be in these nations will be there, and the people who aren't supposed to be there, that you'll send them to where they're supposed to be. I thank you, Father God, that you're not just, you're transforming Palestine, you're transforming even the hearts of those in Hamas, that you are eliminating these terror threats, you're eliminating the darkness, you're eliminating the demonic strongholds in the Middle East. And I just pray, Father God, that, I just see one day where they're actually growing food and it's green and it's lush and they're planting trees instead of just digging oil, and they're taking off the hijabs and letting their hair flow free in the wind, and they're feeling the sun on their face, and they're able to walk about and run and jump and play. And, the West has its own problems, perversion, lying, big corporations. So it's not like the West is without its problems and corruption. And I just pray, Father God, that you begin to separate the wheat from the chaff, that you raise up good, righteous men and women, and that you begin to convict people of their sins, and you eliminate anybody in a position that of authority that could harm people. And I just pray for radical transformation. I pray for ministers of the gospel who know how to bring in the truth of the gospel so that people can have their lives transformed by your son. And I thank you for doing this. I ask you to help Tommy and his family tonight. I ask you, Father God, whatever's going on with those ostriches, may it be your will, and may it not be anything crazy or weird. And I do pray for our freedom of speech for all people, but especially for those in the UK and in Canada and around the world. And I just thank you for spreading the light of the gospel all around the globe tonight. And anybody who's watching, that you bring them peace, that you bring them comfort, that they will learn to know you and touch you in a mighty and a powerful way, that you would work in their lives. And as they begin to stand up to do what's right, that they will be able to do so in the power of God, that you would give them wisdom, that you would give them the discernment, open doors no man can shut, shut doors no man can open. We bless you in the name of the Lord. So we love you guys. God loves you, and God bless. So I'm going to play the exit, I believe, right? I have an outro right here, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday, hopefully, as God leads, but I have one planned, so we'll see.